Ladies and gentlemen, we are live at the San Jacinto City Council meeting, getting ready for opening. We're going to be having the truck drivers here about the trucker situation versus the city of San Jacinto. Will be coming up on the agenda. Also, other items to be addressed here at the San Jacinto City Council meeting.
Eddie.
Oh, okay, yeah, I heard that.
You're welcome, Lois.
Have a good weekend. Yeah. Mom just doesn't need that. It's crumbling up my feet.
Yeah, right. It's worse. It's like
Financial report.
It's just, I feel so.
Oh, yeah. And then we still have it. You know that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
We don't want to see.
Not here, but over.
That's illegal, so I'm not get it out right now. Me and my stuff are
Right? Yeah.
It is wet. But I think nothing's running. Running. And my lips get dry.
Hold this over in case I need that.
You guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready. We're good.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me back there?
Yeah.
Is the speaker back there? Okay, I'm gonna try to scream at.
You got a DJ. Just get real close to the mic.
DJ.
there you go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
There it
we go.
is.
Now I can hear myself. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out to this important, and this is not the only important meeting. People need to know that every council meeting is important because it will affect ultimately to all of us, not just people that are here, but everybody. So I hope in the future we get more support from our local residents. Okay, let's start at 6:30, and I'm going to ask City Clerk to please perform roll call.
Mayor Ledesma,
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Reese. Here. Councilmember Ayala,
Here.
Councilmember Van Heer,
Here.
Councilmember Hawkins.
Here.
That is 5 minutes.
Thank you. We're going to move to the next item on our agenda, and that is invocation. And I'm going to ask Madam Mayor Vanderberg
yes,
if
I'm
you
ready.
can please do our invocation, and then that's going to it's going to be followed by Councilman Ayala with the Pledge of Allegiance.
You bow your heads, please. Lord, thank you for our mayor, the city council, and leaders of every level in our community. Give them grace to bring truth, justice, and stability to our region. Give them power to do what is right and rule in fairness. May our community be known for its justice. And God bless our past mayor Russ and his family, Athena and their children, as well as Dennis Fletcher. We pray for his family too, and for the loss of him last night. And if you can, everybody say just a little prayer on your own. And God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is waving on the right. Right on over your heart. Veterans obey salute. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Isn't that make you proud to be here in the United States? Every meeting, we have to go to Pledge of Allegiance. Whatever meeting we are, whether it's government or I have to be in different committees, from the Board of Realtors up to WRCOG or your name at RCTC, and I feel good. Let me just tell you, I'm a naturalized citizen, and it makes me so proud every time there is a veteran who will do Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, with that, let's move on to item 1.4, and that is going to be a mayor and council member report, and I'm going to start with my right. So let's see what Mr. Hawkins got to say. What kind of report do you have?
So for the interest of the items, I'm going to forego my report to next month, but I do want to just acknowledge Dennis Fletcher for the work that he has done in our community. I can't think of a non-elected official who's worked harder in our community than Dennis Fletcher, especially when it comes to our homelessness. That was something that was near and dear on his heart, and definitely going to truly be missed in our community, as well as Mayor Russ Utz, our former mayor in the city of San Jacinto. True great pillars in our city, going to be missed. And just want to acknowledge that and know that we're going to close our meeting out with honoring both Mayor Russ Utz and Dennis Fletcher. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sorry, I got caught reading. Councilman Ayala.
Thank you, Mayor. Same thing, I'm gonna forego my reports because I know we have a pretty packed agenda for tonight, but also to go off of what Councilmember Hawkins was talking about. Past Mayor Utz and Dennis Fletcher, both those fine gentlemen. I've been a neighbor of Russ for the past 20 years, and it's not only sad to lose him as a colleague, and to also lose him as a neighbor and a friend, and I wish him and his family the best. I've been communicating with his family back east about how we can do what we can to help him and his family back here. And also just learned coming to the meeting about Dennis Fletcher, that's just heartbreaking. So prayers to all of them, prayers to the families, and thank you for everyone for being here tonight.
Thank you, sir. Let's move to Val.
Well, I'll just piggyback on that. I'll forego my report as well. I'll save it for 2 weeks, and hopefully you all are coming back in 2 weeks, or most of you. Other than that, let's just have a really good meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm on quite a few boards. I am gonna forego some of them right now, but I do wanna mention a couple of them. Over at Western Riverside Council of Governments today, we had the IREN meeting. The IREN is Inland Empire Regional Energy Network. It is one of 4 in the entire state of California. And we have, I'm the chair of that committee, and we handle Riverside and San Bernardino County, so it's over 4.5 million people. And I wanted to mention these to you because I want you to understand that how big this really is. It's 3 COGs. So Western Riverside Council of Government is a COG, C-O-G, right? So 3 COGs, 2 counties, 52 cities, 13 tribal nations, 11% of California's population, 215 special districts, 27,263 square miles. That's what we're responsible for. And right now, we have been tasked with giving out and implementing programs for energy efficiency for with $65 million. And so hopefully we'll see more to that, and we'll be able to get more down to the regular folks. That's what we want to see. Also, I don't know if you all have stopped by City Hall or seen this. This is put out by Western Municipal Water District. It is absolutely, it's landscape with style, and it shows you how to landscape your yard. So I know that we've got a lot of water right now. You all remember that I was talking about cloud seeding? Do you guys remember that, Alonzo?
I do.
So that's what we've been seeing here, the results, and thank God for it. Finally they're doing something to help ease the drought. But these are plants that are tolerant normally here, but with all this rain, I would hesitate to do this until that's calmed down. But you can get it free. You can go to Western Municipal. Eastern Municipal Water District has something similar. I really like this one because you can see the layout of your backyard or front yard, and it really helps you identify what you really like and where to plant them and how you actually plant. So pick one of those up if you can. Otherwise, look at it online and help beautify your yards. I do want to say that we went to the memorial. Well, it was a vigil for Russ. And Val was there with me, and quite a few people turned out on Harvard Street. Russ has been a pillar in this community for many, many, many years. He was on the city council for one term, that's 4 years. Anybody who has questions that they want to ask him when they're on the dais, he always was well thought out. He had done his research. He was truly appreciated, and he was a friend. I will tell you, do you remember when he mentioned that he stabbed his leg with a steak knife? And then he turned around and did it twice? At that time we determined we couldn't give him steak knives, really. He wasn't allowed to hold those. And Dennis, my dear friend Dennis, he was so special, and I'm so shocked and stunned and just floored tonight. It is, he was a true friend. I went over one time, I got a call saying that he was missing, and we got concerned, and we were searching all over for him, and he lost his phone. But it took us a while to find him. It was terrible, but he meant that much to us. So I truly will miss him as well. So with that, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm going to probably just hold also my report for the next meeting, and my prayers to both of them families, Rossatz and Dennis Fletcher. Really good community leaders, both of them, each one in their own way, and they were always positive and thinking to move forward with our city, both of them, one and different areas, but hopefully they're rest in peace, and my prayers to the families. All right, let's move on to, when I ask city manager, we have any late items?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we do not have any late items.
Thank you, sir. Let's move on to item number 2, and that is public comments. Now is the time for the public to address the city council of any subject with the jurisdiction of the council not listed on the agenda. A limitation of 3 minutes shall be set for each person desiring to address this council meeting. If you are to speak on the truck parking issue, please do not under item 4.3. Let me read this again to make sure we all understand, including myself. Okay, if you are to speak on the truck parking issue, please do not, I'm sorry, let me start all over because I'm confused myself here. If you are to speak on the truck parking issue, please do so under item 4.3. So if those are here to speak on the truck issue, you guys please gonna have to wait until I call item 4.3 of this agenda. Other than that, I'm gonna ask City Clerk if we have anybody else to address the City Council that is not happen to be a concern on the trucks.
We have one public speaker, Kevin Saunders.
You hiding back there, buddy.
Hello.
How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing great. How's everyone tonight? Hello to everyone here and in the crowd in back of me. I'll be very quick here. My name is Kevin Saunders. I'm a proud community member in the city of San Jacinto. Here to give a quick update on some events happening this week. Hope you don't mind. The first is the Hemet San Jacinto Valley Chamber of Commerce monthly mixer. That's tomorrow, 3/22/23 at 5:30, located at the beautiful Ramona Bowl Amphitheater. The host is celebrating 100 years, and it's the longest running outdoor play, I believe, in the U.S. and definitely in California. The next event is on March 24th. That's Friday at 6 p.m. That's a reverse draw, Boots and Bling. Put on also by the Hemet San Jacinto Valley Chamber of Commerce, located at the Ramona Event Center, 42151 East Florida Avenue, Hemet. Tickets are $135, includes dinner for two and a chance to win $10,000. Because the theme is country and Western, the musical band Nitro Express will play some selections throughout the night. Also, bingo and raffles prizes will happen all night long. Please come out. It's a great time and a wonderful time in the Valley. There's still tickets available for that event. You can purchase them. And if you don't attend, you can also provide a gift basket for the silent auction. Quickly, as I close here, I'd just like to say, I'd like to celebrate some of the powerful women here today, as this is Women's History Month. So let's continue to celebrate your accomplishments. Here's a few ideas that you can do to recognize Women's History Month. That's to watch a documentary about women's rights, read books about women's rights, add some new podcasts to your musical queue, watch TED Talks by women leaders, learn some Women's History Month stories, learn about the history of women's health, or simply go home and hug your mother, spouse, sister, or Aunt Rose. They will appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin, is the event gonna take place tomorrow if it's raining?
Our director is right in the back, Norm here, Kairos, and he says yes.
Yeah.
Norm? Yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Umbrellas.
thank you. You have no reports from Ramona? Norm? Norm?
I can give a report.
You have slip?
I don't have a slip,
Okay.
but I'm good.
Okay. I thought you were here
For the sake of time.
We got a little crowd here, so let's hold up to that, like same as our report. All right, let's move on. I'm sorry. You have any more public speakers?
There are no more public speakers.
All right, let's move on. Hopefully this will be quick and we get out of here by 7. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to item number 3, and that is consent calendar. Matter listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion by the city council members of the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of this item prior to the motion unless members of the city council or staff request a specified item to be removed or discussed. If item is pulled, it will be here after the balance of the remaining consent calendar has been voted on. So let's move on to the item 3.8. Consent, okay, that's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem. And I'll second myself on this one here. All right. Any comments on any items, sir? Thank you.
Items.
All right, no items to be pulled? From nobody? Okay, let's move on to approval or disapproval.
Councilmember Vanderveer,
Yes.
Councilmember Hawkins,
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Reese,
Aye.
Mayor Ledesma.
Aye.
That is 5 in favor.
Thank you. For the records, that is 5 in favor. And let's move on to item number 4.0, and that will discussion item. Annual financial, I'm sorry, 4.1, annual financial report, SAS 114, report and gas report for the fiscal year ended on June 2022. With that, we're gonna ask Finance Director Erica Gomez will present a staff report and introduce the city edition auditor term rounds. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, we are recommending that you receive and file the annual financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022, as well as the SAS 114 report and the GAS report. An audit of financial transactions and internal controls is legally mandated and also required by bond covenants, so we get one annually. Audit activities were conducted by Rogers Anderson, Malady and Scott, also known as RAM CPA firm. Audit activities began in July of 2022. We received a draft of the report in February of 23, and we completed management's discussion and analysis. In March of 2023, we issued the financial statements this past Thursday. And so with that, I would like to introduce Evelyn Morantine Barcena, and she's going to provide some discussion on the financial statements for you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members.
Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Is that better?
Yes. Better.
Okay. And this is really close. Okay, I'm gonna hold it like
There
Erica
we
did. Okay, so good evening, council members, everyone here who's obviously here for the financial report. I'm just gonna give a brief presentation to go over some of the generals over audit, the responsibilities as us, your auditors, responsibilities of the council, yourselves, and responsibilities of management. So I'll touch on the audit objective. Our objective is to provide an opinion on management's financial statements. We gather and evaluate sufficient appropriate audit evidence to provide reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. We provide an opinion as to whether the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects, in accordance with government auditing standards and generally accepted accounting principles. Auditing standards follow, two that I mentioned, and the Uniform Guidance Single Audit, which is required when the city expends more than $750,000 of federal funding, which they did this year, and we also issued a report on that matter. Responsibilities, just to touch on them, management's responsibilities is over the financial statements as a whole, for complete, accurate financial records, and for the comprehensive framework over internal control, including controls to prevent and detect fraud. Governing body, which is yourself, is a fiduciary capacity to ensure that management fulfills their obligations. The auditor's responsibilities, which is ourselves, is to obtain, again, reasonable assurance over the financial statements. We examine items on a test basis. We do samples over significant transaction classes, over significant balances, and we verify that the information provided and presented to us by management is accurate. Our audit process includes obtaining our understanding of the city, and we review their internal controls. We make sure that we understand well how the city is doing its processes. The biggest thing for an audit is that we can't audit something we don't understand, so we try very well to work with management and gain a really good understanding over internal controls, their financial reporting processes, so on and so forth. We conduct detailed audits of the financial statements. We look at relevant records. We inquire about various significant or unusual transactions. We confirm cash and investment balances as able through financial institutions. We perform analytical procedures, and we also use data analytical procedures. In addition to all of those substantive procedures, we also read the minutes of City Council to ensure that any significant transactions approved by Council is recorded appropriately. Our final opinion on the financial statements is an unmodified opinion. This is what we call a clean opinion. It is the highest level of assurance that we can provide on the audit. It essentially means that we did not identify anything as a part of our audit that caused us to believe that the financial statements were materially misstated, either in the data presented or the disclosures made and represented by management. Other required reporting is the gas internal control report, which was issued in line with the single audit report, so it is included in that. The SAS 114 communication letter, which provides you with items related to the timing of our audit, what we had discussed in the beginning. You should have received the SAS 114 letter in the beginning of our audit as well, stating the timing and planned issuance of the financial statements. The uniform guidance single audit report, which is the report over your federal transactions. And then your gallon report, which shows your appropriations limit. It's all very brief. I'm open to take any questions if you have any.
All right, well, thank you for your report, and thank you for coming out on this rainy weather. Councilman Hopkins, do you have any questions?
I do have just one question, and one, thank you for your report. When you're looking over the report and you're doing an audit, was there anything in the report that would have made a concern or a pause to have you look over it again to get better clarification? Was there something in the last 12 months that would cause that?
One of the items that we did look at in detail this year was related to leases. There was a new accounting standard that was adopted in this fiscal year, so we had to do a deep dive on your leases, mostly vehicle leases, but also your leases receivable for different, when the city is the lessor. We did have to look at those in very big detail because there was a large change in how these are being accounted for. And you'll notice if you compare your current year financial statements to your prior year financial statements, there is about 2 or 3 additional pages worth of disclosures because of the new standard that required all lease liabilities and leased assets to be put on the financial record. So that is something that we did look at in further detail this year.
Okay, well, that was it. I just wanted to see how deep dive we went with it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Ayala.
No questions, Mayor, and thank you very much for keeping us all in check. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Valverde, please.
No, no questions at all.
No
Thank you for coming, and we learned a lot. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Excellent work you did, and we're glad to have you because we want to make sure that we're doing what's right. So thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you. We're going to move to council discussion, and on that I'm going to start. Okay, I got no questions, but would you mind standing up so I can tell you what important role you guys play with not just CD but every audit that you guys do. Those that have been here for a long time probably remember, and my colleague here is going to know what I'm talking about. In 2010, I got elected, and the reason why I ran, it was because there was some problems with the previous council. And so the very first time I sit down, I say, oh my God, what am I gonna do? You know, how am I gonna count all this money? And then I remember talking to, back then, my colleagues, and Andrew Kaya, he was in the finance, and I told him, I said, look, how about if we hire a company to do an audit, because we barely started, and people are gonna think that we commingle funds, and it's very, very important for you guys to do those audits. And I wanna thank the rest of my colleagues here for agreeing on have you yearly or every 6 months, whatever you guys agree with stuff, and it's very, very important for all of us and keep us clean. We all know that in the past also the city of Bell, there was a miscandle, you know, and thank for us here in San Jacinto, keep us straight. I really appreciate it, and I want to thank you once again.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to work with your management as well. Erica was great in getting us all the information that we needed, so definitely many props to your staff.
Alrighty, to the rest of my colleagues, we are in discussion. Anything you guys like to discuss about this, or?
Nope.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, this is for receive and file. Let's move on to item 4.2, and this is approval of Approval to execute agreement related to San Jacinto Power Choice Solar and Battery Residential Program. For that one, I ask Deputy City Manager Tom Prill will introduce the item and introduce member of the particular agency team. Thank you, Tom.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Let me see how close I am. Anyway, is it not working?
Yes.
Okay, now it is. Okay. So anyway, so the item before you tonight is for approval relegated to San Jacinto Power Choice Solar and Battery Residential Program. Staff recommends that the City Council grant to the City Manager or his designees the authority to execute all of the contracts and make any non-substantive changes related to this program. As you know, San Jacinto Power has been successfully serving customers since 2018, coming up on our 5-year anniversary here. In addition to providing renewable energy at competitive prices to our customers, San Jacinto Power intends to offer customer programs to not only support the renewable energy goals of the state by leveraging innovation and cutting-edge technologies, but also to enhance grid stability and create new, meaningful benefits for our residents. The Power Choice Solar and Battery Residential Program was developed by CalChoice member Lancaster Energy, Participate Energy, and Tesla to support new home developers in meeting their Title 24 requirements and all homeowners with a zero upfront cost option to install solar and batteries for energy savings, backup power, and potentially to participate in grid services. The program successfully launched in the city of Lancaster in October of 2022, and as a CalChoice member, San Jacinto Power has the opportunity to implement this program in our community based on the established program agreements. And with that, we do have a couple of members from Participate Energy to go over the program and with the presentation, and that's Stephen Pollock and Mike Kimball.
Thank you, sir.
And we also have Kathy DeFalco from CalChoice, our partner in this also.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Ready? All right. Yep. This going right here.
Feel free to pick up the mic.
All right, let's do that.
There you
How's
go.
that then? Okay. Mayor, City Council members, thank you very much for having us. It's really an honor to be here. And let me first start by sending our warm condolences for your loss. That's very difficult, and it sounds like very impactful members of your community. So we really appreciate it. My name is Stephen Pollock. I've been in solar for about 20 years. This is Michael Kimball. We're from Participate Energy. We've been working with the CalChoice team, San Jacinto Power, your city for some years and now months now, trying to work through this program. We'd like to take a second to introduce what it is, because we think it's really, I'm sorry, can I? Nope. So, what the program really is the CCA was established to provide value to your residents, right? As a community, you came together to provide retail rates to support your community, to make the cost of energy better, and still use the Southern Cal Edison infrastructure. One of the unfortunate things that has happened as we try and promote a green global economy is that every time somebody goes solar within your community, it becomes load that the CCA, that San Jacinto Power, isn't serving. So we've taken our experience in solar financing, in solar deployment, building those systems, maintaining those systems, and we've kind of recreated an offer that allows San Jacinto Power to provide a great economic value to your end customers and provide solar and batteries on their homes, which is it's a innovative way to repackage things that are existing. So we're super excited about it. We call it distributed microgrids. And the reason it's called distributed microgrids is because when you have solar and batteries on your home, when the grid goes out, you can power your own home. So it's a microgrid in that sense, right? You become an island, you become self-sufficient, you become resilient. But we're trying to approach this as a community. So distributed microgrids really means a programmatic way of deploying these battery and solar solutions throughout your community to make the entire community more resilient. And we've created a financing structure in partnership with CalChoice and San Jacinto Power and how to serve all of your community members in an equitable way. So we'll get into it, but that really means no credit checks, which has really been something that slowed down the deployment of solar for some people that might be getting into a new home or might be getting into stretching to put all the money they can into that home. We also want them to go solar. We want to be able to support them. Every member of your community should be treated the same and should have access to the great programs that your community provides. So this is kind of a visual of how the current world works. This is before distributed microgrids. So San Jacinto Power is buying energy from a mix of generation sources. That can be solar, windmills, hydro, thermal, nuclear. That's essentially what you're getting from the grid. And then Southern Cal Edison is transmitting it over their poles and wires, and it gets to your home. If you look on your utility bill, there's two sections of your utility bill. One is for energy, and one is for delivery. Southern Cal Edison is the delivery piece. Energy is coming from here. What San Jacinto is buying wholesale and bringing through the grid to their customers. In addition, you have these homes. And you can see the homes without solar are just consuming energy. The homes with solar are consuming but also producing. And we're introducing a new home here which has solar plus batteries. And that changes the whole conversation. Now you're actually being more of a participant in this energy infrastructure. This is how it's done today. So what you can see is the battery is now feeding the house. And at nighttime, right, because the moon is out, at nighttime the solar isn't producing, so everyone else that has solar is buying from the grid, but the solar with the battery is actually consuming the energy that was produced by solar, but stored in the battery, right? So we've already created a little microgrid there on their own. When the grid goes out, even the people with solar can't produce their own power, whether it's daytime or nighttime, unless you're able to create a line between you and the grid. You can't backfeed into the grid. So really what this is saying is the only home that can be self-sufficient and resilient is the one with a battery and solar and can isolate itself from the grid. So what we're proposing to do is to help more people in the community have the battery and solar and participate as a community in those distributed microgrids.
Thank you, Stephen.
And to echo Stephen, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I am, as he stated, Mike Kimball with Participate Energy. And before getting into all the words, I like statistics a lot. So the benefit of this power choice, right, these distributed microgrids, a great benefit to the customer is from a statistic. So in San Jacinto, approximately 55,000 population. San Jacinto Power, SJP, has about 13,000 residential customers. And of those 13,000, about 3,000 already have solar. Probably the vast majority don't have batteries, but they have solar, so about 25%. And not just specific to San Jacinto, but across most cities, usually the people that already have solar are typically the people that have the higher income in a city. So a big benefit of this program is we're targeting the middle income and the low income to really bring the benefits of solar, and in this program also battery storage for when the grid goes out, your house still has lights on, is bringing that to the middle and low income people in San Jacinto. So echoing what Stephen said, for the customer, resiliency, right? Your house, if the grid goes down, your house has the lights on because it's pulling from the battery that was charged from the solar panels on your roof. Behind the meter is really like a technical term in the solar industry, but all it really means is when he talked about the bill is energy and delivery, because the battery's there, we can then now lower the charges that Edison is really getting the residents on the delivery, because we don't have to rely on Edison delivering energy because it's already stored at your house. So little technical with behind the meter, but practicality, it's just kind of cutting Edison out of the picture and delivering more savings to the customers. Value, at the end of the day, is getting that the valuable green energy to the middle and low income residents and allow them to save on their electricity bill. For San Jacinto Power, the benefits are grid stability, which over time, as you're getting more of these solar and battery systems throughout the city, the grid stability grows and the value from that as the distributed energy resources market evolve. I know it's a technical term. Basically, the more solar and battery power plants you have throughout your city, the more San Jacinto Power is going to benefit from that evolving market. Green energy, San Jacinto Power gets to retain all the green energy benefits from these systems as part of the program. And then again, as San Jacinto Power rolls out programs to your customers, this is obviously, we believe, a very valuable program for the reasons already stated. Should I do this right? All right, so Power Choice is the name proposed that your residents would see. And essentially, to the end customer, it's a zero upfront cost offering to the homeowner. It allows them to have long-term, like, predictable pricing on their electricity bill. So they'll be able to lock in energy pricing at an extremely low escalator, while the cost of Edison electricity historically rises. I believe in January of this year, Edison pricing went up 30%, and they're projected to go up another 8% in July. So this allows customers, homeowners, to basically lock in predictable low energy pricing for up to as long as 25 years. No credit check, and where this is also extremely valuable, it's not stated on the slide, but when someone goes to sell their home, because everyone is gonna, eventually sell their home, the buyer of the home gets to assume that locked-in low price. There is no credit check of the incoming home buyer, which historically has been a major challenge in the solar industry. So this program solves for that. And all of the ongoing operations and maintenance of the solar systems is handled by Tesla and paid for by Participate Energy. So no cost to the homeowner or to San Jacinto Power for the ongoing operations and maintenance of the solar and the battery system located at the customers' homes. And then, as stated, the systems will be sized up to 100% of the homeowner's energy use. So 100% green energy use with the backup battery power, so that again, when if the grid goes down, their lights are on. I'm going to turn it back over to Stephen.
Sure. And worth noting, this is just an option. So if people want to pay cash for their system or get a loan or get a PPA from anybody, they can. This is simply another option enabling people in San Jacinto Power to have a great solar and battery offer. I think you can see in the future, as people look at the pricing and look at the impact of the bills, this is a very exceptional offer in our opinion, because what we've really done is created a partnership between the cities, the CCA, Tesla, and Participate Energy. So there's really no fat there. There's no big overhead, big expenses. It's really a group that has come together to provide this offer to residents. So from that perspective, we can be really efficient with our costs and pricing and make it really attractive. Just so we can go back to who the partners are. So Tesla is a big name. I think most people have heard it, but most people have heard about Tesla from the vehicle side of the business. Tesla is also very big in energy. They do energy, batteries, solar, vehicles, trucks, semi-trucks. And one of the things they have in the US in particular is a tremendous amount of experience with commercial, utility, and residential solar and battery projects. So they are bringing all of that expertise all of the local knowledge. They already install locally. They're bringing their own installers. So from an installation perspective, we're bringing what we believe is one of the best-in-class partners to take the orders, design the systems, permit the systems, build the systems, and maintain the systems. Tesla is standing behind their warranty and their customer service. So if anyone has a problem, we have a big partner in Tesla that customers can reach out to and get service from. Participate Energy is an expert in financing. And so the origins of Participate Energy is a company called Corporate Credit. It was founded in 1994. And it has the experience. It's got 250 megawatts of solar deployed on rooftops. It's lent over $5 billion in tax credit financing, which is particularly relevant for solar. And this Participate Energy is simply a special purpose company that was established to deliver this offer, right? So it's really Corporate Credit. Participate Energy is a rather new name, and it was just launched for this purpose. Why the program was created? So solar was always an interesting thing. It was really polarizing. Some people loved solar that wanted a green environment, but to manage the grid, which is really difficult, right? There were no batteries, so you really had to produce as much power as people wanted when they wanted it. Solar created all this volatility. The clouds would go over, there's a lot of solar, it's not in the utilities' control. And that all really changed with batteries. Batteries allows homeowners to have more reliable systems. It allows the utility to understand better what homeowners are doing. It creates more stability across the field. And even more so, when the market pricing gets really volatile, when there's a high heat event, and the CCA is exposed to real-time markets, right? You have hedges in place. You have ways to make sure that you're not exposed to those real-time markets. This is an additional hedge. Sometimes you have a financial hedge where you invest in kind of an insurance product that makes sure you're covered. This is what we call a physical hedge. So it means that when the markets go crazy, we can press a button and dispatch out of the batteries and give additional buffer from those batteries for any financial exposure the grid has, or the CCA has. So it not only is, this is the whole point of this program, it not only benefits your citizens, it also, and residents, it benefits the CCA as well. We also believe in resilience. As more and more issues happen, like high fire times and potentially earthquakes and other natural disasters that are hitting us across the world, it's more and more important for people to be able to protect themselves, for people to be able to have power when the grid goes out, for people to make sure they have a safe place for their family and friends and community members. So that's another important fact here. SJP has a requirement to meet a green standard, but what we're trying to help do is exceed that requirement. So we're helping promote the overall agenda of kind of going green. And the last one is what we call social equity. So as Mike mentioned, it's a little unfair that only the highest FICO score people with the most money and the biggest utility bills get the savings, right? They get access to the low rates. This program, regardless of your FICO score, regardless of your social standing, if you are a homeowner that owns your home and has a utility bill and is part of San Jacinto Power, you will get the same rate as everybody else with no other qualifications. How does it work? Again, I spoke about this briefly, but this is not one company serving this and needing to pay a bunch of expenses and lining anybody's pockets, right? This is a partnership between Participate Energy. Participate Energy is the one creating the fund. The fund will own the systems and manages the inflows and outflows of money. Tesla is the one who is working with the customer to design and build and operate and maintain the systems. The homeowner receives all of the benefit, 100% clean energy and resilience, and the CCA receives the benefit of supporting its community members, of going green, and generally bringing all this together and creating awareness within the community of this program.
And I'm just gonna walk through, this is the 30,000 foot view of how the program rolls out and kind of each individual bucket. So the customer, the homeowner, enrolls in the program from San Jacinto Power's website. It's a collaboration between San Jacinto Power, Tesla, Participate Energy, to make the residents aware of the program. But they go to San Jacinto Power's website and they enroll in the program there. Once enrolled, Tesla is the one that is interacting with the customer. They're designing the system, they're building it, and then over the long-term life of the project, they're operating and maintaining the system. How the system is paid for so that it's zero cost to the homeowner, that is where Participate Energy steps in and pays Tesla for the entire system. And then is paying Tesla during the ongoing operations and maintenance. San Jacinto Power then is buying the energy from the solar and the battery systems from Participate Energy, and then San Jacinto Power is in turn reselling that energy to the homeowner. Just similar to how San Jacinto Power sells energy to homeowners now. Nothing, still the same Edison bill. This Power Choice program becomes a tariff just like the other San Jacinto Power tariff options right now. And it goes on the bill, so the simplicity of one bill is also kind of a first of its kind thing, which is a positive aspect of the program. This is the high level. I'm going to try and go fast through these because these are more the steps, but just with some graphics and a fancy person holding the bill. So anyway, San Jacinto Power, Participate Energy, Tesla, customer enrolls. How they enroll is it's important to say they get the same exact Tesla customer experience as someone who is buying a system, for $35,000 with cash. The homeowner who is zero cost, they get the same exact experience with Tesla. So they sign up, and then all the funding for the system is paid for by Participate Energy. Then the customer goes through the design process. We talked about same exact Tesla experience as someone who's paying $35,000, $40,000. System is installed. System is owned, both the solar and the battery, by Participate Energy. Tesla is maintaining the system over the long term. Green energy. So then the systems owned by Participate Energy are selling the power to San Jacinto. To clarify on this graphic, the power is staying on site, right? As that first slide in the beginning of the presentation, the power comes and is wheeled through Edison. We're avoiding Edison's delivery because the power is staying on site. So even though Participate Energy is selling the power to San Jacinto, it's staying on site. And then San Jacinto is reselling that power to the resident at a price that creates savings for the resident, and the power obviously stays on site and is used by the home. And the homeowners are able to have 100% clean energy if they decide to size the system that size. They work with Tesla, so they get to pick what size system they want, but they will have the ability to go up to 100% clean energy. I'll turn it back over to Stephen to wrap it up.
So I think this is a little bit of a repeat of some of the stuff we've already spoken about. It really is a partnership. Just as a little background, I spent 8 years at Tesla. I helped co-develop this program, and I left Tesla and have joined Participate Energy because I believe this program is so incredible and it's something that I really want to work on going forward. So it's a very innovative, interesting partnership. We now have 2 cities that have approved. We would really appreciate your consideration and think this is really a win-win-win opportunity for everyone.
Does that conclude?
Yes.
Does that conclude your report?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me move on to council for questions, and let's start with. Let's all have opportunities. I know you got your notes. I got my notes on my mind. Let's start from Councilman Hawkins, and then you get it. You have questions? Okay, go ahead.
Is this question or comments?
Questions.
Okay, yeah. Can you go back to that early slide with the homes on there?
The first one or the
third one, probably.
Might be the third one. Yeah, that one right there. Okay. So, can I get clarification on something real quick? Because I'm looking at the one where you said that essentially if all the power goes out, the one home that has the battery connected to it, essentially it's off the grid, right? So therefore, help me understand something, because you told me that Edison distributes the power, but this right here, and then your closing comment you said at the end, is that it essentially removes us from Edison. So it almost seemed like, wouldn't it be a smart move to move everyone into having batteries, to essentially moving away from Edison?
So, first of all, I love that comment. So, I mean, I do think that having batteries throughout the community makes a more resilient community, absolutely.
Okay.
At the end of the day, though, being completely off-grid is a very tough value proposition. So this essentially inverts the normal way we operate, which is the grid is our primary supplier. Sorry?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. May I ask for quiet back there, please? Si se puede bajar poquito la voz, por favor. Gracias. Go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. So the way we operate without solar and batteries is the grid is our primary supplier. And then maybe you have a backup generator or something like that. But it's really, the grid is kind of pole position. This inverts that. Now your solar is your primary power supplier in conjunction with your battery, which helps you have backup power, but also can power you at nighttime. And the grid is essentially your quote unquote backup. So if your solar and your battery didn't have enough power, you still want to be, for every normal day, connected to the grid so that you could use the grid power when you need it, right? This is really speaking about what happens when the grid goes down. I think maybe 10 or 15 years ago, a lot of people didn't understand. When they went solar and the grid went down, they thought they could produce power. But you can't, because when the grid is down, if the solar is producing more than you consume at the home, it's got that extra energy, it's gonna send it back up the lines. And if it sends it back up the lines, and people are working on those lines and they're down, it creates a very dangerous situation. So the way that it works when you don't have batteries is your solar will turn off. Batteries will actually disconnect you from the grid. So if you are producing more than you consume, it goes into the batteries, and if there's even more after that, you're just an island. It won't go back into the grid. And that's what enables you to be a microgrid when the grid is down. Otherwise, when the grid is up, you really want the grid to be there to back you up. Does that make sense?
It does. And then I have one other question, and I'm passing on. Can you go back up to the other house with the two arrows going in and out?
Almost
I think it was like right above the other one.
daylight.
No, you're using the big one. Do that one. I got it. Nope, you're going down. You're using
right there.
No, it's not that one. It looked just like that same graph, but it had.
We're getting there.
I'm pushing the wrong button. I apologize.
This one? This is the night view. Do you want the day view?
Yeah, the day view. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So, help me understand this, because I'm noticing that there's a breakage in those two lines as among the other ones. Kind of remind me of driving, you can cross over the road grid.
Yeah.
But is it possible, since these homes are generating energy, is it possible for the homeowners to be able to sell their energy back?
So there is, it's a complicated question, and the short answer is there is a new policy called Net Energy Metering 3.0. and that's new. It's just transitioning mid-April. The policy's been released. And net energy metering policy basically says what kind of credits do you get if you overproduce and send energy back to the grid. NEM 1.0 was full one-to-one credit. The utilities weren't super happy about that because we're using their infrastructure, right? So they're saying there's a cost to this. NEM 2.0 took a little bit of that value out. NEM 3.0 is going to take even more of that value out. So for example, if you send 1 unit out, you'll get a fraction of that back. So what we'd rather do, and why one of the reasons it's important to size the batteries correctly, is we don't want to send anything back. We want to keep that as minimal as possible so that the homeowners can retain the value. And the way we do that is putting it in the battery. So as long as we keep those electrons at your home and you use them at your home and you don't touch the grid, you never have to pay that net metering fee to the utility.
I'm gonna pass along, but if they don't ask the next question, I gotta go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Ayala.
Very good visual and explaining how this all works out, and thank you very much for all of you coming out and making this presentation. A couple of questions, and probably the most primary question is probably on top of every resident's mind right now is, would this system, if installed at the person's home, would this increase their bill for electrical power?
Yeah. Do you want to? So what I'll say is, it depends, and that's not trying to be a cagey answer. The answer is, if you have a really small bill, then you can save money on the energy portion because we're producing energy for much cheaper than retail, about 50% of the cost of retail. But the battery, which enables this, is a fixed monthly charge. And if your bill is small enough, the savings from the energy is just kind of eaten up by the battery charge. So it's hard to give an exact number. Yeah, please.
So we did a joint comparison based on the average kilowatt hour usage for the San Jacinto residents. And on their average bill, yes, they would save money. But as Stephen says, it's going to depend on each resident's or each consumer's usage. The more they use, the more they'll save. But also it depends on when they use. So for example, time of use hours during the afternoon are higher. If people are using a lot of energy, that will offset those higher costs during those higher peak times because you'll be reverting to battery power.
Right.
So, but as stated, a below average user in the city of San Jacinto would probably not get the benefit of the cost savings right now. In future years, more than likely they would, because as Mike and Stephen mentioned, SEs raises their rates several times a year, and this is a fixed cost with a 1.9% escalator per year. So on the energy, not on the batteries.
So we think there's tremendous value, but we're trying to be as transparent as possible, that we cannot guarantee for every single person savings, but it's also an option. So if people don't want to do it, they don't have to do it.
Great, thanks for explaining that. The other question I have is, so is the intention of this program to basically establish a small community grid of power and saving, power and storage here in the city of San Jacinto?
A non-exclusive community grid, yes. Okay. We are trying to help the CCA operate more efficiently and help benefit the residents as well.
Okay. You mentioned Lancaster and another city that's currently operating this program right now. What's the other city?
Rancho Mirage. The city of Rancho Mirage approved it at their city council meeting last week.
Oh, okay.
So we intend, assuming that the council approves this, we would move Rancho Mirage and San Jacinto, the cities, together at the same. We would implement them at the same time.
Okay, so, great. One last question for me, Mayor. What about the residents that obviously have installed solar panels but don't have batteries?
I think they could tremendously benefit from this program. The initial offer is solar and batteries, but an expansion of this offer is battery retrofits to existing solar. So that is part of the plan here. It's not the day one offer, but that is anticipated.
All right, great. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's move to Vandenberg.
No, I'm really interested in this. I usually run $800 to $1,200 a month in the summer because I like the house at 60 year long. So this would really, I probably need like 10 of those batteries that will one work for me as much as I use. Is it one battery? Is it based on the household or the size or just how much I generate or take?
It's based on both. I would bet good money that you will save money. But the reality is, part of the design process is talking to you about your loads, which, how you use your energy. Are you looking at using more energy in the future, right? If you wanted to buy an electric vehicle, a lot of the codes are now requiring electric appliances. These are only going to push up how much electricity people use. So that's actually a discussion you would have and a choice you get to make. So if you wanted more backup to get through more hours of an outage, you would add more batteries. If you wanted just to be able to kind of store the solar and use it at night and assume the grid is up most of the time, then you might design it slightly differently. All of those options are okay. That's simply something you would decide at the time.
I'm in. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. So let's start with, what's the cost to the average customer? So zero up front, no credit check, but what's their monthly cost? I mean, we know they have an electric bill, right? So how much would you estimate as an average cost?
So the tariff cost will be 14.5 cents per kilowatt hour used currently. And again, now if you're using 100%, if you're using 100% designed so that it works 100%, you're not having to pay the transmission and delivery side, which currently the generation bundled with the transmission and delivery is about 35 cents per kilowatt hour. However, you do have the cost of the power walls, which are the batteries. So the battery is $115 per month. Some of that comes back to San Jacinto, as does the revenue generated from the system. So part of that revenue, and so it kind of depends on the system you design. But again, the higher your usage, at average usage, you're going to be saving about like $5 a month, basically, and that's counting the cost of the battery and the 14.5 cent tariff and the reduction in the transmission and delivery charge.
And the multiple batteries that Al's gonna get.
So I can totally relate to that because I also live in a desert community and my bill is about twice the average I live in the city of Lancaster, and my bill is about twice, and for the reasons you mentioned, I opted for 2 batteries, and I will be saving on my bill. I will also be able to keep everything going in the summer should we have a power outage, which is important to me. I don't want to sit in the desert 120 degrees during a heat event and not have air conditioning, refrigeration, and those types of things. So for, the benefits there are multiple benefits.
So you said that there's 3 cities doing this?
Two have approved, and this would be approved.
Okay, so has Lancaster started the program?
Yes.
When did they start?
They started actively, we approved in October and launched in November. And we are installing the first systems now. They should be going online probably in April.
So that's a quick turnaround,
Yes.
approval to start.
Yeah.
Now, everybody in here probably knows the name of Tesla. I know it, for the car, but frankly, I'm not impressed by the car. I have a family of 8, we can't fit in his car. But the batteries I've known about for years, and the batteries are very, very expensive. I'm excited that it's with Tesla. I think that, he's been on the forefront of all of that. I do have a concern. Tesla's in Silicon Valley, right? Oh, you know where I'm going. You know exactly where I'm going, and everybody in this room should know. Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, right? Was Tesla involved with Silicon Valley Bank? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but Tesla is one of the largest, most well-capitalized companies on the planet. Silicon Valley Bank was actually, and this is probably out of my scope, but they were very much startup focused, and they actually provided a lot of services to startups. Tesla is now in a very different financial position and environment, and utilizes global sources of capital, and so that's my answer.
Okay. So has this been done anywhere else in the United States?
No, this was actually co-developed, working with Lancaster and Cal Choice, specifically to solve some problems with the CCA, or not solve problems, help improve how CCAs operate. So this is actually brand new. It's not technically a joint venture, but it's something we designed from the ground up to serve CCAs with Cal Choice. So right now what we're doing is talking to the various Cal Choice member CCAs. The first two we mentioned are Cal Choice members, as are you, and clearly the Cal Choice members are getting a first look at the program and first priority because of the co-development efforts.
So when we first talked about doing this, we went through an arduous, like a rigorous approval process for you guys. And you're with Lancaster, right?
No, I'm with.
The CCA.
I am with Cal Choice.
Cal
I'm the
Choice,
general
okay.
manager of Cal Choice.
Okay, so it was rigorous. We asked all kinds of questions. We really delved into what we needed to do to make a successful CCA. WR Cogden attempted to do it, and I kept sitting on the board telling them, follow San Jacinto and Lancaster, follow San Jacinto. They didn't. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for those few cities that tried to join on. But we learned quite a bit from that, the mistakes that were made there. We know that Edison and anybody who owns solar on their house, have you noticed your bill go up? Do you have solar?
No, I don't.
I'm telling you, we started with the idea that, okay, this is gonna cover our costs 100%, right? And then Edison charges you all these dollars because you have solar. Go figure. The legislation that's coming down is gonna do the same thing. It's continuing on because they're losing money to people going over to solar, right? I think this is brilliant. Absolutely spot on, brilliant, exactly what needs to happen. Because if we can get off of the grid, then we aren't gonna see our citizens have issues with the heat. Like you said, 113 degrees and the power's going out.
Right.
What the heck? Why is the power going out at all? My concerns with them, are astronomical, especially when now you can sit below the towers with a laptop and they don't have to climb the poles anymore, which is great for them. But, put a 15-year-old with a laptop down there and I bet you he can be in within a minute. So it's very concerning, putting our citizens in charge of their own power. That's brilliant. And doing it in a way that is approved by the PUC and all of them, that's huge. That's huge. You don't understand the hurdles that they have to go through in order to get this to work. So I'm really excited about this program. I'm really excited for our citizens, and I'm really excited for the retrofit thing.
Yes. And just to clarify, I was with the city of Lancaster previously, and I was helped launch Lancaster Choice Energy, and eventually left to join Cal Choice. So
nice.
So yeah. Just.
Thank you. It looks like Councilman Hawkins had one very last question. I don't know if I'm going to be covered. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I do want to ask a question concerning the leasing program, the effects of, because you said when someone moved, that they wouldn't be, they wouldn't be held liable for, because that's one of the big concerns with it, if they're putting a lien on someone's home, and then the options that they will be able to purchase.
So this program was designed from the ground up to address the different issues we saw in the market. And this is one of them with PPAs. In fact, we've seen a lot of kind of pushback from the real estate community, because when they were reselling homes with solar leases and PPAs, sometimes they had trouble transferring the lease or transferring the PPA. And sometimes the PPA companies would take that as an opportunity to reset the terms and, you know, change pricing and all of that. That's one of the reasons from day one, we don't have additional credit underwriting. We don't have additional renegotiation of the terms. So no matter what, if there is a new customer, a new homeowner that comes in, they can step right in with no ability to be said no to, no ability to be renegotiated. It's just a clean transfer. So that really alleviates some of the real estate community's concerns that it makes a house harder to sell.
Well, I do want to say thank you. I do have a future request. Given that one home, I would love to see what a project would look like to create an off-the-grid type city, given the fact that, you know, you're putting your future in San Jacinto's hands.
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea of it. So you fail, we fail, we all fail. And so I love the idea of us being the city that's being trusted with this opportunity. But I really like the ideal of seeing our city become completely off the grid, to where, as Mayor Pro Tem said, you know, putting the power in the residents' hands, and I like that idea.
So right now, microgridding is a big issue, I guess, if you will, at the California Public Utilities Commission, and there are grant funds available for projects through the CPUC and the CEC. And Lancaster did apply for grant funding for a low-income housing development that included a microgrid, and they are, you probably know more about this than I do, but they're in the process of having those low-income houses built, and they're all microgridded. They can disconnect, the whole neighborhood can disconnect from the grid if needed. So those are things that we at CalChoice are looking at. Not a whole city, but starting it with pieces of cities. So, yeah.
Thank you. Let's go to Mayor Pro Tem for an additional question. Don't steal my questions. I think that, okay.
Is there any cost to the city?
No, there's no cost and no minimum commitment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ayala, one last question.
Thank you. And again, yes, thank you for coming out and sharing this information. I think it's extremely beneficial to the city and to be a pilot in this program. It's looking forward to this opportunity. One last question. Can you talk briefly about home value when it comes to solar, battery, and what kind of benefit that can bring to the homeowner for the future?
Yeah. So home value is an interesting one, because it really deals with kind of the appraisal industry. These kinds of programs, so if you own your solar and it becomes a fixture of your house, then there are discussions around how to increase the appraised value of your home. There's a lot of discussion around that. There's no agreed upon methodology right now. But the concept is, you're paying lower bills, it should increase the value of your home. Technically, when somebody else owns the system on your house, you don't get to say that it's a fixture of the home, so it doesn't have necessarily the same impact, but it effectively lowers your bills. So you get some of the same benefit, but it's not really a discussion around increased home value.
And
No,
Thank you.
I'll add something after.
Does that answer your question, sir?
And one other aspect of this too, when you're talking about working with the new home developers, you know, there is a Title 24 requirement that does require solar on new home developments. So we would like to work with the city to introduce this to the home developers and add this program. And again, it's an option that they can choose or not choose, but what it does by having that zero upfront cost, it allows the home builder to add value in other ways with the money that would otherwise be spent on the solar that he would have to pay for up front prior to selling the house.
Thank you.
What were you gonna
Thank
do?
you.
Good enough.
Okay, don't go away. First of all, thank you, Kathy, Steve, and Mike. And I apologize if this meeting is longer. This only it takes a lot to be behind these tables, let me tell you. Every 8, 10 years, we have to amend or adopt a new redevelopment, adopt authority general to the general plan, okay? And I see that this council has been making a lot of questions. I don't want to badmouth previous council, but every time, what I meant to say is, every time we about to adopt something into our city, there's a lot of questions. But
that's why we're here. So.
Exactly, but there is people out there, I don't want to badmouth anybody, think that the council just adopt items because nobody is here. No, we do ask a lot of questions, and those are very important questions before we make a decision. So I want to thank you for coming out, but I do have a lot of questions too. All right, in the staff report, there's mentioned Title 24, and Title 24, we got adopted not too long ago, probably during COVID, I believe, or okay.
2 years ago.
Okay, so Title 24, it says for anybody, oh, it's just T24, but when you try to build, that is a big issue because it has to do with all of these requirements. Right, so with that, I'm gonna ask a question, and it's a question, thank you for this presentation. In your previous presentation, Kathy, I asked you, or Hawkins, I believe he was the one, I apologize, that asked, where do you provide the power to all these houses? As we hear in the presentation, we adopted this 5 years ago. And the purpose of us, the council, to adopt it was to save money to the citizens, okay? That was the main purpose. Well, along the road, I have a lot of phone calls, people saying, how come I got 2 different bills? Okay, let me answer my question with this, okay? And there is not, yes, it is 2 different bills because you are providing to the San Jacinto Power from all different sources or providers. We still renting, let's call it renting or using their power lines to deliver that power to the houses. Okay, now with this, now there's a question. With this program, are we still gonna pay them or paying 2 bills or one bill is gonna go away?
So it is a single bill that every SJP customer gets now,
Okay.
unless they have a separate PPA with a solar provider outside of this. Those customers do have to pay directly to that solar provider. Has nothing to do with SJP. The bill, and I believe last time I was here, Tom mentioned that there's a sample bill on the website. So it's broken into 2 sections, and that is true if you're a CCA customer or if you are just SCE, you've opted out or you're not living somewhere where there is a CCA. It still has a section for transmission and delivery,
okay,
and a section for generation. So once you become a CCA customer, the section for generation now says San Jacinto Power, and that's where the generation rate is applied, but it's only 1 bill. Okay. So this team, and you know, we've worked with our data manager who interfaces with Edison on the billing aspect. This will still be on 1 bill, and we've worked on how it will look to be, I guess, the most acceptable from a customer perspective. So it will just be 1 bill. Okay. This will be, it's called on-bill financing.
Okay,
So.
I have a whole lot of more questions, okay. but I'm gonna kind of limit it because we have a big audience back there for the very next agenda item, but I do want to make sure and I understand that let's speak about real estate prospects, okay? Let's cover, I'm gonna ask this question just for the audience, okay? And myself. So she is my landlord. It's an example.
Not really.
Which you are. It charge me less rent. Okay. So I rent from her. Okay, and then I contact you, says, look, I have a 2-year lease. can you provide power to me? Okay, I know the answer already. Okay, but
We got an answer.
go ahead. I want to hear from you.
So we actually do have a renters program, which is not typical. So the normal answer would be no. You can't do that because when you're committing to a 25-year contract, but you're only living there for 2 years, it's tough for you to make that commitment. But we are developing, we have this program called a renters program, which allows the landlord has to say it's okay.
Right.
So they have to consent.
Right.
It's their property. The renter, the tenant signs up for the utility service and they can get this tariff. And then if they ever left, the new renter would then sign up for the tariff. So the landlord is basically saying, I'm committing to having my tenants participate in this program.
At no cost to the landlord.
No cost to the landlord.
Thank
And
you.
it becomes a benefit to the landlord because they're offering lower energy bills to their tenants
Correct.
coming in.
Right. So that covers one question. In the past, the way it was adopted for solar, and speaking of real estate industry, I'm a real estate broker myself, and it was hard for me to sell a property and have more colleagues in the back, realtors, that they know exactly what I'm talking about, that I don't want to say these words, but we have to sometimes steer our clients and, oh my goodness, he has this program, I don't want to go there. You know, why? Because it was a nightmare trying to go through everything. So I hope that this thing is not going to do the same thing, because now a lot of clients, a lot of buyers learn themselves, whether they were buying a solar or leasing a solar, or they were purchasing a solar, the difficulty of going through it. So I hope this is not going to be an issue.
So program was designed specifically to address that. We think one of our challenges is getting in front of your real estate community to explain that this program is different. So that's one of the things we'd like to do with you. We've done it in Lancaster. We engage with the real estate community and developers and new home builders for that purpose.
One last question, I promise. I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to do it. Okay, so she's my landlord, again, okay? Or Councilman Ayala. Okay, now, we have a contract, 1 year or 2 years. You step in, and then all of a sudden, he gave you the authorization to put the solar, and along the hall, I got an offer, a job offer in Northern California. Sorry, you know, I'm gonna have to go. What are we gonna do now? I'm stuck or he's stuck? The landlord or the tenant?
In that case, nobody's stuck. Well, let's say it this way, whoever has the active service on their account will take over, will get the benefit of the solar. So if nobody had active service, nobody would be paying for the solar. If somebody's there and the lights are on and the solar is generating, then whoever that would be would be.
You could pass that into the new tenant.
Exactly.
That's what you're telling me, okay. All right,
As
you know what, I
one
have
of the
a lot
team
more
says,
questions.
The new person steps into the
That's right.
shoes
Yes.
of the leaving, of the exiting person.
So the landlord is not going to be a lien on his property, correct?
No.
There's no transfer fee.
It's gonna be a lien on my credit report, probably.
No, once you close your account with
Oh, okay.
Edison, once
Okay,
you
okay.
terminate service,
Uh-huh.
it's not your
All
issue
right.
anymore. Yeah.
I could go on and on and on, but
Alonso,
thank you.
You made a good point. What about the battery? So you said it's a $115 a month battery? So if you had the battery and you were renting.
It's still the on-bill financing, it still is part of the homeowner's contract, if you will. And it is billed through, the same as the solar panels, it's billed through the bill that goes to the customer. When the customer leaves, the new customer who comes in, opens up a new account, they are put on that tariff.
And they're not gonna get like a backup bill, like, oh, you.
The minute you turn off the switch, that's
Right.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Can I move it?
Yes, you can. Well, I think we have a lot of discussions in this, and let's move it to this, a call for discussions, just to go.
We're done.
We got done? Okay.
We just discussed.
All right, let's, I'm gonna ask, the council to approve or disapprove.
Move it.
Okay, it's moved
I'll
by
second.
Mayor Pro Tem and second by Councilman Hawkins. Would you please take the roll call?
Councilmember Hawkins?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Reese?
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala?
Aye.
Councilmember Vanderveer?
Aye.
Or Mayor Ledesma?
Aye.
That is 5 in favor.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
Thank you, don't put us down, okay? All right,
Battery charger.
so,
Guys, it's raining. We'll work on it.
That's
I
coming.
want the battery.
on the cake right
There you go.
it's kinda difficult job, isn't it? For how much you make? $10,000 a month?
For what? Yeah, for your,
You been
from
here?
your rent? Oh, from
You
here.
get it? How about you? 20,000 a month? All right, well, we all do it for our community, and we have to leave our families, emergencies, and to be here, trying to do best for all of our community or city residents. All right, with that, let's move on to item 4.3, and I'm gonna ask back there to be please silent and let, if a speaker's gonna come out to the podium, please let him express himself. Try not to interrupt him because it's very difficult to, when you're trying to be in, to speak to the public, especially in front of cameras, and then to the government committees here or this council, it's hard enough. So if he gets interrupted, he's probably gonna miss something that he meant to say and it's gonna escape. Keep in mind that we all have a certain amount of time. So let's keep it very limited, please, and let the person, the speaker, focus on what he's gonna say, or if he's got a script, let him read it, because once again, if he get distracted, he might gonna miss some stuff that he meant to say. Thank you. With that, let's move on to item 4.3, and that requirement and process on development. City Manager Robert Johnson will introduce the item. I call for Deputy City Manager Development Travis Randall for his staff report. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We, as you know, this item is particular to those that are in the audience, but since there are some active code cases, we can't address the actual property or properties in question. But we also wanted to make some introductory comments to make sure the city states its position just on land development, zoning, and general plan in general. And first and foremost, we want to make sure that those in the audience and those that are here, that the council and the city is not against truckers, trucks, or deliveries. We do appreciate what you do. We know how hard you work. And we appreciate the deliveries getting through the industry, the transporting of goods and services for business enterprises. The city is responsible for land use and zoning, however, but not for development. So we don't develop things or properties. The city is also the authority through the general plan on where and how things get entitled to develop, but does not develop them. A developer is able to change the zoning and land use through an application to amend the general plan, but it is costly. The city, meaning the professional staff and the city manager, we're not able to break our own laws through the municipal code or through the development code itself. And there's state requirements that dictate development, and as does the development code, the municipal code, which also must match the general plan. So I know we've talked about general plan a little bit. I know the mayor met with the group that's here to talk about that a little bit. You're going to hear a little bit more about that. The commercial enterprises or businesses on residential property are typically not allowed, and I say typically like in air quotes, but it may be accomplished through a zone change or a general plan amendment. But there is a process for that, but of course it is not without cost. Paying a property owner to park on a land not zoned or intended for that use is not allowed by the municipal code or the general plan. It does cause serious issues for the city with many state agencies. Businesses have multiple operating costs, like I know you all do. We all do, including filing with the State Board of Equalization, which has its own regulations, paying taxes on income received, and increased property taxes based on a business operating out of it and the improvements that were made to the property to make it compliant with the municipal code or development code and general plan. A business license is required to operate a business, commercial or professional, on property in all cases. And development in California, as you know, is not easy, and it's not without significant cost and oversight of many agencies. The application for development provides a mechanism to improve property to host all sorts of business enterprises. Cities that do not adhere to specific development requirements and regulations face significant fines, which could be up to $10,000 per day per occurrence in some cases. If a city is aware of an issue and does nothing, that fine can be substantial. If a city is aware of an issue and works to address it, the fines are often directed to the property owner, which are substantial. As an example, in my former city, the city was aware and was working to correct an issue where a property owner had redirected a blue line stream. Several state agencies became involved based on a neighbor complaint, and initially the city was notified of a $10,000 per day fine. But we were able to show the city was aware of the issue and working through code enforcement to rectify, so the property owner was actually assessed the fine. Thankfully, the property owner was able to reinstate the original blue line stream, and the fines were actually avoided. This is a receive and file item tonight with many public speakers. So after the council discussion, I hope to be able to get a consensus of the council to determine where we go next. We have a few options. I have reached out to a few developers to gauge the temperature for construction of a parking lot such as would house these vehicles, but I'm still waiting to hear back. I believe one of them is online watching right now, which is great. But due to this issue being directly related to an open code enforcement case, staff, myself and Travis Randall, or any other staff members that come to the podium, we're not going to be able to address specifically the properties in question, but in general terms of how properties are able to come into compliance with the development code, municipal code, and adhere to the state approved general plan, we will share information that way. And as you noted, Mayor, Deputy City Manager of Development Services, Travis Randall has a presentation to share the outlines, the many factors of development on all types of property in the city limits, and how the city staff must adhere to the many agencies that oversee development in California, and then I'm sure there are a number of public comments.
Thank you, City Manager, for reading these compliance to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and Rob for the introduction. My name is Travis Randall. I am the Deputy City Manager for Development Services, to provide an overview of what the development process looks like in the City of San Jacinto. I do apologize, it is a fairly lengthy presentation, but I hope to get through it by providing some information on a variety of different elements, including the general plan, what it does, why we have it, how we got here, as well as the development code, speak a little bit about some of the state, regional, and national requirements associated with development, talk about some environmental constraints, as Rob had mentioned. There are issues with different agencies, state and national, that may have an impact on a development project, some of the challenges and consequences of this development, as well as compliance and enforcement. All right, so starting off real quickly with the general plan. In California, all cities and counties are required to adopt a general plan. The general plan is a comprehensive policy document that shapes the long-term physical development of a jurisdiction's planning area. A general plan must include at least 7 state-mandated elements, including circulation, housing, conservation, open space, noise, safety, and as well as land use, which is the primary basis for the general plan. This is all specified in Government Code Section 65302, and must identify to the extent that these items relate to the planning area.
Travis, I'm sorry to interrupt for just a second. I see that in the audience there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people. If you like, we can continue with our presentation, and maybe if we have a translator, feel free to probably step out, and then that person can translate what the municipal code and our deputy city manager is talking about it, so we all can understand, because I can see that he's doing our presentation, and there's a lot of people are still not all there. So not to be offensive with anybody, but may I say this in Spanish?
But Mr. Mayor, not at all, but we do have a city translator, Adriana Trujillo.
Okay.
And so she's a staff member. She's one of our program specialists in the city clerk's office. If you would like her to help in the situation, we'd be happy to do that.
I'm gonna speak Spanish. Levanten las manos las personas que hablan español nada más, por favor. Okay. No están entendiendo lo que se está haciendo ahorita, ¿verdad? No. Okay. Lo que yo estoy ofreciendo es ofrecerles un traductor para que conforme están haciendo la presentación, ustedes estén entendiendo lo que se está presentando, que es parte del código de la ciudad. ¿Les parece bien?
Sí.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Travis, but you're going 100 miles an hour, and I see a lot of people just kind of looking at each other. So I want them to understand what the municipal code is very, very important.
So we have a
for all
staff
of us.
translator. Adriana can do that.
Thank you.
You don't have to do it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and continue from there. Most of that was just background, basic information anyway. So the general plan acts as a constitution for development and is the jurisdiction's primary legal document concerning growth, development, and resource management issues.
El plan general sirve como una constitución para progresar la jurisdicción legal del gobierno para que se puedan manejar
Alonso.
Okay,
Alonso,
dígame.
algunos de los muchachos se tienen que ir a trabajar, incluso ya se fueron como unos 10 de ellos,
Okay.
porque ya se alargó con el tema del solar, se
Sí.
fue muy largo. Entonces, todo eso nosotros ya lo sabemos,
Okay.
ya nos lo han dicho. Lo que
Okay.
nosotros queremos es, otra vez volvemos a lo mismo, soluciones. Ya
Okay.
escuchamos lo que dijo
Okay.
Rob también, que
Thank
tiene
you,
un plan.
Adriana.
Eso es ya lo sabemos, ya
Okay.
lo sabemos. Nos
Okay,
gustaría
thank you,
empezar a hablar
Adriana. There have been losing some truck drivers going back to work, and this presentation has been already done with some of them, and they understand all about the municipal code. So thank you, Adriana. You could go ahead and for those that speak English, and please, those that don't, keep quiet, maintain yourselves quiet so you can continue with the presentation. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you. Go ahead, Travis.
Alrighty. So the general plan in general, it reflects the community's values and desires and addresses important impacts such as land use, urban design, economic development, resource conservation, public facilities, services, safety, public health, and sustainability. So the general plan has four primary elements. One is that it's general, and most of you have seen this presentation before, so I'm kind of going through a lot of it pretty quickly. But basically it identifies the general guidance for future decisions by decision makers such as yourself, the City Council, as well as the Planning Commission. It guides the activities of city staff and is intended to provide assistance for the community to identify what the goals, values, and objectives for the future development in the city are. It's required to be comprehensive. That includes covering a wide range of social issues, economic issues, infrastructure, and resource. It's long range. In this case, the current general plan extends till 2040, which is about 20 years into the future. And it has to be integrated and coherent, meaning that it's comprehensive throughout the plan, it's internally consistent, and it furthers the intent, the goals, the policies of the general plan in general. So the general plan is intended to be used by a wide range of people, as I mentioned, including city decision makers, city staff, developers, and community members, and serves the primary following purpose. to identify land use, growth, transportation, environmental, economic, and community goals and policies throughout the planning area. It's intended to articulate a vision, the strategies, the goals and plans and objectives to reach those goals and policies, and to inform the citizens, developers, decision makers, as well as other agencies where the city stands on certain issues. So the application of the general plan, under state law, most of the actions that are taken by the city have to be consistent with the general plan. And I say most because there are some basic functions that don't relate back to the general fund or general plan, pointing to finance a little bit, right? Payment of certain bills, it's not a general plan issue. But any decision that we make as a community, whether it be the planning commission, the city council, or administratively, as it relates to subdivisions, capital improvements, development agreements, or any other land use decisions, have to be consistent with the city's adopted general plan. In counties and general law cities, the zoning and specific plan, the specific plans must also conform to the general plan. So we can't deviate and make changes to a zoning and development standards unless that change is consistent with the general plan as well. To do so, we actually violate state law, and that can get us into a lot of other issues through HCD, as well as some of the different state agencies that oversee certain elements. In addition to preparing, adopting, and implementing and maintaining the general plan, it specifically looks at those key categories, key elements, including land use, circulation, as well as those economic and social goals and policies for future growth in the city. So very quickly, overview of what the elements are, just so everyone's on the same page. We have a series of goals. They're basically identifying what the overarching purpose of the general plan and future development in the city is going to look like. To implement that goal, we have a series of policies. Those policies have a number of different actions that could include things like pursuing grants, extending roadways, updating the municipal code and development standards to streamline certain activities, whatever they may be. And then they're done through the actions, and so that's through our implementation plan. And a lot of the actions within this, the General Plan 2040, have actually been completed with the adoption of the General Plan 2040 and Associated Development Code updates last year. So the central basis for the General Plan is the land use element. The land use element is the guide to land use planning within the city of San Jacinto and affects many of the issues addressed in other General Plan elements. The land use element identifies the type and location of future land uses within the city. The specific land uses and their location within the community, in turn, affect the remaining general plan elements. For example, the location and type of land outlined in the general plan land use element affects the circulation system, right? If you've got a certain type of development occurring in certain areas of the city, what does that roadway that provides those services need to look like? Is it a local street? Is it an arterial? Is it a collector? What classification? And that has to do with how many cars, how many people it needs to move in a certain amount of time. The general plan is designed to encourage economic development throughout the city and enhance the city's existing residential neighborhoods, support expanded housing and employment opportunities, and promote a strong sense of place and identity within the city of San Jacinto. Go ahead and skip over that part there, speed up a little bit for you. So we've got two different major components with the land use element. We talk about land use intensities and land use densities. So I just put a little representation on there. When we talk about maximum density, we're talking about residential type development. So we established that in this certain area of the city, or these certain parcels, we're gonna have a development at 4 units to the acre, or at 8 units to the acre, or 20 units to the acre, whatever the case may be. When we talk about intensities, that's all of our non-residential type developments. And so that's done through what's called FAR, or floor area ratio, which is basically how much building can be on a piece of property. So if you've got an FAR of 1, if you have a 10,000 square foot parcel, you can have a 10,000 square foot building. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio. And so that helps us identify what those issues and what those impacts of that potential development could be from an environmental perspective. So we'll go ahead and skip on to the other section here. We've got a number of different elements in there, including our economic development, mobility, public safety, resource management, environmental justice, housing, and our implementation plan. So now that we've talked a little bit about the general plan, I want to talk about the California Environmental Quality Act, which is the overarching requirement for environmental review within the state of California. This applies to all cities, counties, and agencies that have jurisdiction within the state of California. So this is enumerated within Public Resource Code section 21,000, et cetera, as well as the California Code of Regulations, which is the CEQA guidelines, which starts at 15,000 and passed on. CEQA actually dates back to 1970 when it was passed and signed by then Governor Ronald Reagan. But CEQA does not, as a misconception, CEQA does not regulate land uses. It doesn't say what you can do anywhere on property. It doesn't stop development. It doesn't encourage development. It basically is just an informational tool that we as the city have to provide to both the decision makers, the body up here, as well as the community, as what the potential impact that development may have on the environment. And in addition to identifying those impacts, we have to identify how we can mitigate those impacts to a level of less than significant. So all projects, as I mentioned, within the state of California, undertaken by a public agency are subject to the provisions of CEQA. So that includes cities, counties, special districts, universities, colleges, school districts, municipal water districts, sanitation districts, you name it, they're subject to the CEQA process. So generally speaking, CEQA applies to discretionary actions. That includes permits or entitlements to do something on a piece of land. So if you're asking for approval to build, develop, or change a land use, that's a discretionary action that the city takes, and therefore it's subject to the provisions of CEQA in some way, shape, or form. It also applies to all public projects. So when we bring a project before you, such as the Esplanade Widening Project, there was an environmental document that addressed what the impacts of widening that road are and how we can mitigate those issues. CEQA, however, does not apply to ministerial actions, such as the issuance of a building permit or the issuance of a business license. Ministerial is basically the application of specific standards. Do you comply or not? Yes or no? There's no interpretation, there's no ability to use a level of discretion by the staff member that's issuing that approval. Those are not subject to CEQA. I don't expect you to read or see all of this, but this is a list of the different agencies that are part of the environmental review process. So obviously we've got cities and counties at the top, we've got special districts, and then we get into all of the fun state agencies that usually play a level of responsible agency or potentially a lead agency in environmental review process. Now this is just a list of the ones that are standard. A whole nother list that you can add to that too, depending on the type of project that's involved. So I just want to show it to the group to make sure that you understand that this is a very extensive process to go through, and it's not something that we, the city, have a whole lot of control over because we are simply complying with the state law requirements. So generally, the CEQA process is broken down into a number of different steps, and this workflow can be a bit overwhelming. I'm not going to go into all of it. But basically, when an application is submitted to the city, we have to start off asking ourselves a variety of different questions. First off, is this a project as defined by CEQA? And there's actually a very specific definition of what a project is in CEQA. Assuming it is a project, we go to the next question. Is it ministerial? Are we taking a discretionary action, or is it simply ministerial? Assuming that it's a discretionary action, because again, ministerial projects are not subject to CEQA, we go to the next one. Is the project exempt? And so there's a variety of different ways that a project can be exempt from CEQA, including statutory requirements. Those are exemptions that are called out explicitly by the state legislators, such as issuance of a daycare permit. The Olympic Games, if San Jacinto were to host the Olympic Games, we don't have to do CEQA for that. Not sure why, but that's what the state legislature decided they wanted to do. Or we've got categorical exemptions, and those are exemptions that are generally considered to be benign in nature, additions to buildings, minor modifications to signs and encroachments into setbacks, those types of things. Those are considered categorically exempt, which means that in most cases you can make a finding that that would be exempt from CEQA and you don't need to do further analysis on it. That doesn't always apply though, because if you're doing, let's say the example that Rob provided earlier, you're doing development in a blue line stream, even if it's a small development, that's not exempt from CEQA because you are impacting known resources, so you can't use those exemptions. Now, assuming that all of that is not, that we don't meet any of those, we get to go into a whole long environmental process, which I'm not going to get into all those details. That'll just bore everyone in the room, and myself included, so we're going to skip ahead. As we go through the environmental checklist, we're going to be looking at a variety of different elements. These are the ones that are actually listed within CEQA itself that we have to analyze and answer questions about each and every one of these subjects when we have a discretionary project. So it could be anything from air quality to minerals to traffic and circulation and everything in between. Right? So if we find that the project's exempt, great, we get to move forward with a notice of exemption and we just move on with our day, we move forward with the project. If not, we get to decide whether or not we now need to look at a negative declaration, meaning that we're declaring that there are no negative impacts on the environment from this project. A mitigated negative declaration that says, you know what, there could be impacts on this project, but we can mitigate it to a level of less than significant, and therefore we can declare that it will not have a significant impact by the time we're done. And then an environmental impact report, which is the highest level of CEQA review. That includes the opportunity for a statement of overriding considerations. We have an impact, we can't mitigate it, that's okay, we're going to continue with the project anyway. We have to disclose, try to mitigate it, but we don't actually have to mitigate it in order to move forward. Just by way of example, as far as timing goes, notice of exemption is something that's done very quickly. As quickly as it takes us to go through potentially some, we may need a bio report and maybe a tribal cultural resource report to make sure that there's nothing on site. And if we get those documents and we're good with them, we can issue a notice of exemption when we get ready to issue approval for the project. The negative declaration, mitigating negative declaration, those tend to take a bit longer because those tend to have a lot more technical studies. We then have to condense all of that into that checklist document and basically identify what those impacts are and how we're going to address them. So those can take about 6 to 12 to 18 months depending on the nature of the project and the type of reports that we're able to get. And then the environmental impact report, that is by far the longest process of CEQA. You're looking at typically about 24 to 36 months to go through that. Just for a frame of reference, there's in Southern California, specifically in Western Riverside County, we have something called fairy shrimp, which exists within various areas in vernal pools. And so when it rains, these shrimps basically de-shrivel and rehydrate and they come back alive. Well, in order to go through an environmental process, you have to go and study whether or not there's fairy shrimp on site. There's only a small period that you can actually do that during the rainy season. So if you have a project moving forward in August, September, October, there's no rain, there's no vernal pools, there's no fairy shrimp, you can't say they don't exist. You have to wait for the rainy season to then study it. Yeah. And so that's one of those nuances of state law that we have to follow in order to comply with the CEQA provisions. So I also want to talk very quickly about some of the state and national requirements that apply to developments throughout the city. We've got the NPDS, which a lot of you have probably heard of before, which is the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, as well as the MS4, which is the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. That has to do with waste, stormwater runoff and how that gets addressed and treated.
Excuse me, can you guys slow down, quiet down back there, please?
Alonso, why don't
With
you
the
stop
presentation. I'm going to continue with the presentation. I'm going to continue with the presentation.
We've been here for 3 hours, we haven't even been able to talk.
We no longer taking the hour. Go ahead.
¿Se quieren quedar o nos vamos a la chingada? Ustedes digan.
We have to, sir.
Pura estudianza, but we can live.
We have to do this, okay?
We're talking about small trucking companies. You guys are talking Amazon. Big companies. Come on, people. We live here. We live here hiding. We're not people that are coming in. 3 hours.
What's that?
Unbelievable.
That's some bullshit.
It's 3 hours being here.
That's bullshit.
People have jobs. You're talking about traffic coming in. We already live here. We've been living here for 10, 20 years. And you're talking about traffic, trucks stopping traffic. We already live here. We already park in this 3 hours being here for no reason.
We're giving them a lecture on how the city works.
I volunteer.
Hey, and the funny part, Mayor, is you're pressing us for time and you're pressing him for time.
We want to
earlier you said, oh, I'll come right here at 7:30. You don't care about what we gotta
have?
say. You've been pressing our time.
I ask you, please not interrupt. I didn't interrupt you guys. I promise not to interrupt your 3 minutes. Sir, I promise not to interrupt your 3 minutes when you're gonna speak, okay? Please. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
He's gonna rush us for our time. He's been saying, oh,
You just try to rush it, please.
bullshit.
Just, please. Watch your language.
I'm speaking what I want to speak, the truth. You've been yawning back there the whole time. All you do is yawn. Everybody's on their phones up there.
No. I'm paying attention. I learned myself. Please, keep it quiet. I'm going to say one more time. I'm with you. I want you to keep quiet. Please do that. Please.
Just give 3 minutes. He
Okay.
only has for 3 minutes.
See if we can rough it up, because they don't want to hear it. I understand. We all understand. Let's try to rough it up, please.
Sure. I think one of the important parts, I'm going to skip that last slide and go to this one here, which is the water quality management plan. This tends to be one of the challenges for a lot of development, specifically in the the Santa Ana Regional Water Quality Control Board area. And basically, a water quality management plan addresses water runoff from new development, parking lots, new buildings, whatever the case may be. The thresholds, as you can see on here, are relatively small, 5,000 square feet for a new parking lot. To put it in perspective, 5,000 square feet parking lot is about 20 standard parking spaces. So that's a very small window that we then have to comply with. And the reason why that's important is because when you look at some of the requirements for both the state and federal, they have real financial and legal requirements. So as an example, just last year, the San Diego Water Regional Control Board issued a $411,000 penalty for a developer that did not comply with the requirements of the SWIP program, which is the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Program or Plan. In 2021, the US EPA also got involved with a site, this one happens to be in Washington, where they settled $133,000 for violating clean water requirements. So those are some of the things that we then have to deal with as a city to make sure that we're protecting both the city as well as property owners, that we don't end up with some of those civil penalties, which can be up to $10,000 per day per violation. So skipping ahead to now the development code. This is where we really get into discussion about how things can develop here in the city. And so we're going to go ahead and skip to this slide here. When we talk about zones. So how is a zone consistent with the general plan? And so what we're looking at on here is on the left-hand side, we've got a variety of different zones. On the right-hand side, we've got our general plan. And we have to be consistent when we go and approve projects with this table. For example, if we've got a property that's in a commercial zone, like a commercial neighborhood or commercial general, and they want to change it to another commercial zone, all three of those commercial designations are consistent with the commercial general plan land use designation. So that's relatively easy. We can do that through a change of zone process. However, if you wanted to take that commercial or residential into an industrial development, those zones are not consistent with the industrial designation. So in order to do that, you have to change the general plan and the zone in order to move forward with that project. So when we look at permitted uses, I'm going to show two of them. This is what the examples that were located in the staff report for you. We've got a restaurant down at the bottom, which is a permitted use in that CG zone. We've got one with a drive-through that goes into a minor use permit. That changes the entitlement process that we need to go through. So I'll talk very quickly about what that looks like. So when you have something that is listed as a permitted use, right? It means that there's no additional discretionary action needed by the city in order to approve that. So if you want to build a restaurant, sit-down restaurant in a commercial area, you can do that already. You can go through, if you're building a new building, you go through a site plan and design review because we're doing new construction. But if you've got an existing building that you want to take from, let's say, a retail store and turn it into a restaurant, you don't need a special approval from the city to do that. You need your building permits, you need to go and get your business license, and then you move forward. When you've got different uses that require a minor use permit or a conditional use permit, that's where things get a little different. And so when we start talking about these different storage uses, parking lots, those require what are called a minor use permit, which is a discretionary process that's identified to make sure that that use is compatible and consistent with the property and the surrounding uses. So when we go through those site plan and design review processes, we're looking at a variety of different requirements. I'm obviously not going to go through all of these because there's quite a few of them, and talk a little bit about our use findings. So when we have to go and approve, or we're asked to approve a use permit, a minor use permit or conditional use permit, we have to make a series of findings, and those number 3 and number 4 that are on the screen here, those are critical to determining whether or not this use is appropriate in that specific location.
Astudillo, sigue. Lunes, Astudillo. House.
Okay, go ahead. We almost done.
All right, variances, that's something that tends to be spoken about quite often. Variances are authorizations to modify development standards. They cannot change zone. They cannot change development permits. All they can do is change the development standards, parking, or signs, building standards, drive-through lanes, whatever the case may be. You cannot change permitted uses or the permit requirements or the zones.
Nos vamos a la chingada, ¿qué? Porque esto no va para ningún lado. We're gonna have to block the city, we'll block it, that's it. 3 minutes. We're freaking tired, man. We're coming from work, 18-hour work. We're still hard getting anybody.
I'm gonna say one more time. I'm just gonna say it one more time, okay? Let's have, I'm gonna have him wrap it up, okay? And I'm gonna let you speak, okay? But I hope you guys.
He's going through the whole process all over again.
All right. Do you understand that we are governed
I can't believe you guys don't understand that.
state and county? It's not just those government
It's simple,
bodies,
Alonso.
okay?
In the last 20 years, he's talking about developing.
Sir,
Let me say
I'm gonna
this.
let you speak.
Let me just say this.
Le voy a dejar que hable. Dile un papel.
He said in the last 20 guys added in the last 20 years
Back and
for
forth with
truckers.
you guys, okay? I'm gonna have Travis
Let's stop the
presentation right now, okay? And I'm gonna have you guys,
We already last 30
but you guys have to respect the other speakers, please. If not, then I'm gonna have to call this out, okay? That's it.
Call it out, then let's go, vámonos. Hay que salir a fucking city, let's close it.
You
Let's
don't have
close
enough,
it.
you guys don't have enough, you don't want enough.
We've been here for 4 hours. 4 hours already.
We're here longer than that. Here longer than that. All right.
Hay que esperarnos, hay que esperarnos.
Travis, and I apologize for the inconvenience. Thank you very much for the presentation. I myself learned a lot. Thank you very much. I was paying close attention. I took some notes. Thank you. And you guys are here. Would you please stop? ¿Se pueden callar, por favor? Déjenme hablar. No, señor. Aquí yo soy el que ya se me va a programar. Y si no, vamos a valer sorbete. Aquí estoy para ayudarles. Ok, ¿no quieren que les ayude? ¿No quieren que les ayude? ¿No quieren que les ayude? Ok, hasta aquí llego yo, señor. Hasta aquí llego. Así de fácil. Que consigo todo aquí. Yo les prometí que les iba a dar. Hasta aquí llegué. Ok, porque ustedes me siguen interrumpiendo. Estamos trabajando bien.
Le voy a dejar que la señora tome el oriente aquí. Y empezamos.
Si no se calman, van a cerrar todas, van a
Can I have a translator?
Mira, espérense un segundo, déjenlo que hable, déjenlo que hable, cálmense por favor. Hay que calmarlo. Pásale, señor.
Yo estoy aquí, porque no entienden. Yo les prometí que les iba a tratar de ayudar, pero ustedes no se están dejando.
Well, the problem is that we work 14 hours every day.
Me too, sir.
And we're here to be
I got
here.
up at 3:30
We're
this
here
morning.
to be here.
My colleagues, they're having
I
a
know.
long time out. She worked with also kids. We all worked. Please understand that we got here. I tried to bring this to council as an emergency, trying to help, trying to get you a solution, but I don't see them helping you. Okay?
Let them speak. Open the mic.
Okay. Hold on, let me continue. All right, I'm going to ask Adriana Trujillo to read. Now is the time for the public to address the council on item 4.3. A limitation of 3 minutes shall be set for each person desiring to address the city council in this item. A translator required there will be 6 minutes, a limitation of 6 minutes. Please do not exceed, because we have a lot of speakers. And because of the way this meeting is going, none of the councils, including myself, are going to respond to you. Because then we're gonna create an issue, okay? But I'm gonna ask one question. Travis, do we have an application to change the zoning or to amend, to have a minor use permit, conditional use permit, variances of development standards?
So at present, there are no.
Let me say one more time. Le pregunté al director si hasta el momento hay una aplicación que podamos este concilio poder votar. Si hay una aplicación, el minor use permit, que diga, aquí es zona residencial, pero yo quiero una aplicación para que se me apruebe para estacionar trailers, no hay. Un conditional use permit, una condición al general plan, tampoco está esa aplicación. Alguna variance al development code, tampoco hay ninguna aplicación. Entonces, por favor, también entiendan, vienen a gritarnos. Nosotros, ustedes nos están pagando nada más aproximadamente $150, $200 por mes. No tenemos por qué estarles escuchando. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and do, yeah, I'm gonna let you speak. You have 3 minutes.
Just regarding the.
Right now, yes, right now.
Okay.
It's your time.
Okay.
Okay? I promise you guys, please let me run this, and we're all gonna get to a good thing, okay? Adriana, you're gonna be there to translate, please. Okay, I'm gonna ask the city, the city clerk to please call off the first speaker. Those that want to speak, please fill out a yellow slip so you can be on record. Please fill out your name and address for the records. Thank you.
Thank you. Adriana Trujillo will translate the amount of time they have to speak.
Thank you.
Ahora es el momento para que el público se dirija al Consejo Municipal sobre el tema 4.3. Se establecerá un límite de 3 minutos para cada persona que desee dirigirse al Consejo Municipal sobre este tema. Si se requiere un traductor, habrá una limitación de 6 minutos. We have 3 written comments that I will read right now. The first one is from Mike Garcia. I have lived in San Jacinto since 1983, and I can tell you nothing is like before. Back then, we had real people working at the city, people that care about the community. Nowadays, the city is been run by people that care about money, marijuana smell all over the city, Code enforcement citing every single resident, homeless people everywhere, zombies walking on the streets. Now truckers getting kicked out of the city. I am not a trucker, but my father was one of them, and he used to park in front of our house and never had any problems. Is this new administration that is after truckers that want zombies so they can do whatever they want in office? That shouldn't be. Fix homelessness, get rid of drug addicts, and then we can talk about other things. But reality is we need a change in the office. City administration is not working. Shame on all of those that attack hardworking people and do nothing to help them. Leave truckers alone. We need them. The second written.
Go ahead.
The second written comment is from Mara Levy. Trucker support. Hi, this is Mara Levy. Address 1114 South Irwin Street. I authorize the truckers group to read this at the city council meeting tomorrow. Truckers are a type of people you need more in this city. Hardworking and law-abiding folks who are an asset to society, unlike all your drug dealers in this town. City of San Jacinto, show the truckers the respect they deserve. Go after the bums instead of truckers. San Jacinto has a problematic history of enabling the opposite of decent, responsible people. Is it wise to back these hardworking men and women into a corner so they cannot do their jobs? You have lots of folks that do not want to work, yet you want to harass those that do want to work, and the truckers are not the ones who refuse to comply with safety laws. Then to top it off, Sheriff says if the truckers take further action that interferes with the city business, it will be terrorism. Really? In fact, it's not the truckers, it's a city that looks like it's terrorizing the truckers.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go ahead.
The third written comment is from Eric Johnson. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. First of all, I would like to apologize on behalf of myself and all San Jacinto truck drivers for the misinformation that was shared on social media regarding a so-called city shutdown on March 12th. There was never a plan to cause or disturb the peace or respect the laws in our police department. In retrospect, I believe the situation resulted from other uninvolved individuals that began spreading rumors. It has always been our goal to meet and communicate with local officials in an effort to solve our parking issues. The lack of parking in our city is very important to me because I live here. I am confident that with the city's support, we can solve the parking situation. All San Jacinto drivers are open to suggestions and not just, you can't park here or there. Please help us by also issuing a freeze on all commercial vehicle parking fines. Anything you can do to help us truck drivers will be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We have more comments, right? Okay, go ahead.
The following speaker is Julio Gonzalez, and I believe he needs a translator, and that will be Adriana Trujillo.
Seguro, mi Julio. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Una oración a la persona para que yo pueda explicarle.
Si no hable mucho para que ella pueda traducir, por favor.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon,
No se oye, mi
everybody.
Julio. Con el respeto que todos se merecen.
With the respect that everybody deserves.
Entienda nuestra problemática que estamos teniendo.
Please understand the problem that we are having.
Actualmente ahorita nos están parqueando en las calles, en algunas calles nada más, y nos están robando diésel. En 2 ocasiones me han robado diésel y nadie me ha repuesto eso para atrás.
Right now, the issue that we're having is where we're parking, they are stealing our cargo like diesel. I have diesel.
2 veces.
Diesel has been stolen from my truck twice and nobody has repaid me that. That's money that I've lost.
Okay, estamos teniendo muchas regulaciones por todos lados, DOT, Highway Patrol, en la carretera, en la misma yarda donde meto mi camión, y me sacan para la calle, y nos están poniendo tickets.
We've had a lot of pushbacks from a lot of departments, DOT, Highway Patrol, my own backyard. I can't park my trailer in the backyard because I have to put it on the street, and when I put it on the street, I get a citation.
Okay, aquí una pregunta, ¿alguno de ustedes del estrado tienen o se han subido alguna vez a un camión?
Has anybody?
We can answer, no podemos contestar.
Dijo que iba a ser open discussion, ¿no, Alonso?
No, señor, pues hablamos.
Bueno, no hay problema. Nomás compréndanos que no queremos ser enemigos de nadie. Solamente queremos...
Please understand that we don't want to be anybody's enemies.
Queremos ser amigos de todos, tener un lugar seguro donde parquearnos.
We want to be everybody's friend and have a safe place to park.
Los camiones de tantas regulaciones que tienen no contaminan.
The trucks that we have so many regulations that they do not create contamination.
Okay. Y, no contaminan el subsuelo, no lo contaminan para nada. Por eso las regulaciones, por eso entramos a las básculas, por eso tenemos ciertas horas de manejo para no forzar el camión y se dañe.
The trucks that we drive have a lot of regulations. That's why we go on the scales and
Sí, entramos a las básculas y tenemos por eso regulaciones.
and we have the regulations of how many hours we can drive, so the trucks don't get damaged and they don't start leaking.
Lo único que queremos es tener el lugar seguro donde parquearnos. Proveen lugares, ya sea en algunos presidios que tenemos, y no queremos... Nosotros cuidamos a automovilistas, así como en la ciudad.
We just want a safe place to park within the precincts that we live in, because we are friends of all the people that we drive next to. We watch out for our other drivers as well.
Es muy sencillo. Es más seguro un camión adentro de un presidio que en la misma calle.
It's safer to have a truck within the precinct than outside on the streets.
Gracias.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor Julio.
Go
ahead.
The following speaker is Candelario Martinez.
Vamos, Candelario.
Hey, real quick, the gentleman who was just up here, Julio.
Julio.
Where'd you go? You said that your diesel fuel was being stolen. Is that here in town or where you're parking at now?
¿Aquí en el pueblo o en otro lado? Sí, aquí en el pueblo, en la calle, en la Grand Avenue. En dos ocasiones.
Grand Avenue? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's here, okay. Thank you.
Gracias.
Buenas tardes,
Buenas tardes. Buenas noches.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
La pregunta es, nosotros los traileros queremos un espacio para donde parquearnos, seguro. Lo que está diciendo el compañero, cuando nos parqueamos en la calle, siempre o nos roban diésel, o nos roban, ahorita está de moda que nos están robando hasta las computadoras de los camiones. No, a mí no me ha pasado, pero yo tengo bastantes amigos que les ha pasado. Nosotros los traileros, perdón.
No, está bien. The issue right now is that, like my colleague said, we're having issues with where to park, because these areas, they're stealing either diesel or our computers. It's never happened to me personally, but it has happened to a lot of my colleagues.
Okay. Nosotros manejamos, los que manejamos fuera del estado,
the people that drive out of state,
cuando manejamos tenemos 70 horas para manejar de regreso una semana.
we have 70 hours to drive back within a week.
So, si yo regreso y uso 50 horas, 60 horas, yo tengo que descansar mis 34. So, lo que queremos es estar cerca de la casa.
So if I drive and I use 40 to 60 hours, I get 20 to 25 hours of rest. And I want to be able to rest those hours close to my home.
Y buscamos siempre una yarda que esté cerca de nuestra casa para llegar rápido con nuestra familia.
So we're always looking for yards to park close to our homes so that we can come straight to our families.
Yo me parqueo en la propiedad de Don Jesús, que me queda enfrente de mi propiedad.
I park on Jesus's property, which is right in front of where I live.
Pero la semana pasada me habla y me dice, ya tenemos que salirnos. So es muy rápido para nosotros encontrar una yarda. Queremos estar aquí todavía, queremos seguir en seguir parqueando en esa propiedad.
But last week he called us and he let us know that we had to vacate the property, and that's very short notice for us. A week is not enough time for us to find another place for us to park our vehicles.
So, el parquear aquí nos beneficia a nosotros que irnos a Fontana, que es 1 hora de camino. Esa hora ya se nos deduce en las horas de manejo.
The benefit of parking close, unlike parking in Fontana, is that Fontana is an hour away. So that hour that we spend driving back to the city is an hour that gets taken away from our rest.
So, por eso estamos aquí, para pedir al Congreso y a todos ustedes que nos ayuden a estar cerca de nuestra casa y que nos ayuden a seguir parqueando, vamos a decir, no sé, con el Señor, o un lugar seguro, porque en la calle no podemos parquear.
That's why we're here to ask the council to help us find a solution so that we can park close, because it's not realistic for us to be driving out so far.
Hace 2 semanas, César dijo, si nos parqueábamos en la calle, nomás teníamos 24 horas para parquearnos en la calle, y si no agarrábamos un ticket.
2 weeks ago, Cesar let us know that we only have 24 hours to park our trucks out in the street, otherwise we will receive a ticket.
So, entonces, ¿a dónde quieren que nos vayamos? Estamos pidiendo una chance de que nos den ustedes también. ¿Sí?
So where do you guys want us to go? We're asking you guys for an opportunity to help us find a place.
Que consideren a don Jesús, que Él es el que nos ayuda. Él no es un negocio, para Él lo hace ayudarnos a todos nuestros amigos. Somos amigos todos.
We want you guys to consider Mr. Jesus, who doesn't do it to earn a profit, but to help us because we're all friends.
Es todo. Muchas gracias.
Well, thank you.
Next speaker, please.
The next public speaker is Cesar Rivas.
Buenas noches. Nada más le puedo recordar que como habla inglés, van a ser 3 minutos, por favor.
3 minutos.
Señor.
Habíamos quedado en otra cosa, ¿no?
No, señor. Si usted habla español, son 6
Quiero hablar en
minutos.
español entonces.
Usted va a tener 6 minutos.
Tradújame. Sí. Traté de desarrollar mi propiedad, que es una propiedad industrial.
I tried to develop my property, which is an industrial property.
Y al final, las condiciones que me dieron, aproximadamente $2.6 million.
At the end, the conditions that they gave me were going to cost me about $2.6 million.
Remover un poste de luz en la calle.
I had to remove a light post from the street.
2.8 acres de asfalto.
2.8 acres of asphalt.
Porque no puede hacer un pedacito nada más.
Because I couldn't just develop a small piece of it.
Yo solo quería espacio para 3 camiones.
I was just asking for space for 3 trucks.
Quiero preguntarle a Travis, que es de General Planning.
I want to ask Travis from General Planning.
En los últimos 20 años,
in the last 20 years,
¿cuántas calles más han aprobado para los troqueros?
How many more streets have you approved to add for truckers?
¿O has integrado a los troqueros en un plan?
Or have you taken into consideration to add truckers to the plan?
No podemos contestarle.
¿Cómo puede ser posible que esto esté bien, gente drogándose en las calles?
How is it possible that this is okay, people drugging themselves on the street?
Pero esto no, un troque de una persona trabajadora enfrente de su casa.
But a truck in front of somebody that's hardworking in front of their property is illegal.
Because you got money. ¿Qué es lo que queremos nosotros? Soluciones. Estamos cansados. Tengo un video.
That's what we want, solutions. We're tired. I have a video.
Se lo dimos para que lo hicieran play ahí a las personas, de cuando nos están robando nuestras baterías en la calle. Mis hermanos los agarraron.
We gave the video to our batteries from the street.
On Grand. On Grand Avenue. ¿Saben qué pasó? Nada les
Listen, I'm gonna give you, I know that's not your truck, because that's my homie's truck. All right. No. Don't bring me that bullshit. I'm calling the cops right now. Okay? I got you recorded. So stay over there. All right. Stay over there. Where you going?
Where are you going? There, right there. You're not gonna come and do this shit to my neighborhood, bro. Fuck that. All right? All right? Hey, call the cops.
Is that what you guys want? But to keep those junkers in the city?
I don't want is
There's proof. There's proof. That's why we're tired. And whenever we go and apply for a permit, what we get is so many conditions, that environment to this, environment to that. Here's what I told Rob right now. Es lo que quiero decir yo. A desarrollar las propiedades.
We are willing to develop the properties.
Pero que nos den tiempo.
Or damage anybody within the city.
Pero tampoco tenemos miedo de bloquear las entradas a la ciudad.
But we're also not afraid to block off the entrances to the city.
Y si no nos escuchan, eventualmente lo vamos a hacer. Que quede bien claro.
And if you don't listen, we will do it.
¿O tienen miedo ustedes?
See, I told you they were going to talk about blocking off the city.
Va a ser todo. Pero por eso estamos acá, porque queremos una solución. No tenemos miedo.
That is why we're here, because we're looking for a solution. We are not afraid.
No nos importa que nos llamen terroristas si nos agarran laqueando la ciudad y nos encierran por 2 o 3 años. No nos importa realmente.
We don't care if you guys call us terrorists because we block off the streets. We don't care if we go to jail for 2 to 3 years to do this.
Pero queremos hacerlo bien, por eso estamos acá.
We're here because we want to do things correctly.
Es todo. Gracias.
The following speaker is Reynaldo Hernandez.
Reynaldo Hernández.
Buenas tardes para todos, buenas noches.
Buenas noches, señor.
Good night, everybody.
Señor Ledesma, qué gusto es quejarme con ustedes.
Mr. Ledesma, I come once again to complain with you guys.
Pues a mí fue el que me robó la computadora allá afuera parqueado.
I was the person that the computer was stolen from outside.
Y nada más no fue eso, también me robaron el diésel.
They also stole my diesel.
Aparte de eso, me fui a lonchar y ya está mi trozo arreglado. Ya cuando llegué, un ticket, vámonos, dije, para acabar de fregar.
So after that, I went to go get lunch and I thought, oh, my truck has been fixed. I can go grab lunch. When I came back, I had a ticket.
Y luego aparte, después, volví a quedarme dormida allí y me agarré con 2 negros.
After that, I fell asleep there and I got into an altercation.
Aquí está la cortada que me hicieron, ya cerró, gracias a Dios.
That it already closed.
Fui al hospital a que me...
The hospital so that they can take care of me and they didn't want to take me in.
Ah, pero eso sí, me llegó el bill a una casa de mi hija que pagara $525. ¿Cómo va a pagar si no me atendieron?
But even though they turned me away, I received a bill from the hospital for $525. How am I going to pay $525 when they turned me away and didn't help me?
A mí no me intimida que te hagan navaja o algo, nada, ni... Estoy por mi vida, ¿sí?
Tiene 4 minutos, casi 5, antes de hablar lo que le está afectando a su vida con lo de la troca, por favor.
Sí. Todo es referente a eso. Sí, todo es referente a eso, ya. Es que yo duermo en el troque. Ahí en mi casa, ahí cocino, ahí hago todo. Entonces si me llega un individuo a quererme robar, pues voy a tratar de defenderme.
The truck is where I reside, that's where I cook, that's where I sleep. So if somebody comes at me on my truck, it affects me greatly.
Todos por favor les pido que hagan algo por los troqueros.
That's why I'm here asking you guys to do something for the truckers.
Es todo, muchas gracias.
I'm going to call up on the speaker,
The
please.
following speaker is Tomás Olivares.
noches.
Buenas noches, señor.
Sí, bueno, primeramente estamos aquí, como ustedes saben, me considero amigo de ustedes, amigo de Elena.
We are here, like you guys know, because of the trucking issue. I consider myself friends of everybody and friends of Mr. Ledesma.
Y con todo respeto a este cónsul,
And with all due respect to all the council members,
yo quiero dirigirme a ustedes para que nos ayuden, por favor,
I want to ask you guys to help us, please.
en esta misma necesidad, donde ustedes bien saben que a los que tenemos un camión comercial nos ponen muchas restricciones, pagamos impuestos en todo y para todo.
With this necessity, like you guys know, we pay a lot. They ask us to pay a lot of taxes.
Insurance, todo.
Todo, everything, insurance, taxes, all the premiums are very high.
Estamos legales en todo, por eso queremos que nos ayuden, por favor.
We're legally compliant with everything, which is why we're asking you guys to help us.
Yo todavía tengo donde parquear mi camión, pero me dan la noticia que pronto ya no tengo dónde.
I still have somewhere to park my truck, but they're letting me know that soon I won't have somewhere to park it.
Es la razón que pedimos la ayuda, estamos en lo mismo. Yo trabajo localmente, pero sí ocupo un espacio, porque yo dignamente, como todos los que estamos aquí, trabajamos para el sostén de nuestro hogar.
That is why I'm here asking for help, because like everybody here, I work hard to support my family in a dignified way.
Por favor, pedimos ayuda. Gracias.
Please, we're asking for help. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker.
The following speaker is Ernesto Rivas.
Hello, my name is Ernesto Rivas, and I am a truck driver. I live in San Jacinto. My truckloads consist of bringing water to Winco in Hemet and Walmart in San Jacinto. I bring water, I bring diapers, and the main thing is that I have dealt a lot with code enforcement. Started from Daniel Code Enforcement, and from him he sent me off to Tim. Tim came one day, he made me feel like a kid, because he told me that if I didn't comply with the rules, that they were gonna start tightening the lug nuts on me. So it's been a harassment. Then he sent me off to Renee. She was no help. All she told me was she couldn't do nothing, that I could talk to her boss, Travis. I know everybody in the city now. I know all the names, and nobody helps me out. I don't have nowhere to park. I get citations. I've had property stolen, windows on my trucks. Sheriff's Department don't want to make police reports either, so it's a big problem. We need your guys' help. I even know Flores here in the public. He started helping us with the property on Grand Avenue to develop, and Caesar's my brother, so that's why we're right there in the same property. But it's been a problem, and we need you guys to hear our voices, to give us time. That's the main thing, because we don't have that type of money. We're not CR England coming into our town. That's what I meant by telling Travis. We're not CR England coming and creating traffic. We already live here. We don't create traffic. So that's why we need you guys to help us out with time and have 2 or 3 yards in town to develop the property and have parking for our trucks. Thank you.
The following speaker is Esperanza Garcia.
She left already. She had to work.
The following speaker is Miguel Arroyo.
Vamos, Miguel.
Hello, Mr. Alonso. Thank you, Mr. Justin, for coming back. You know, I'm a owner of the 2 trucks, and I got stolen my diesel on December 6th. So I really need your help from all of you to have a place to park my truck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The following speaker is Freddy Rivas.
Ok, buenas noches a todos.
Buenas noches.
Good evening, everybody.
Ok, pues igual que yo estoy aquí, igual que todos mis compañeros.
I'm here just like everybody, like all my coworkers.
tratando de hacer las cosas de la mejor manera posible.
Trying to do things the best way possible.
No queremos que nos miren como cuando hablen de un troquero,
We don't want you guys to look at us negatively when you guys talk about truckers.
que nos gustan hacer las cosas por la vía equivocada. Queremos hacer soluciones con ustedes.
We don't want you guys to think that truckers do things the wrong way. We want to find solutions.
Yo trabajo a los 48 estados.
I work on all 48 states.
Ok, me voy a veces hasta por un mes.
I leave for up to 1 month sometimes.
Ok, cuando regreso para atrás, vengo a veces por 4 días.
When I come back, sometimes I just come back for 4 days.
Que lo que quiero es que mi camión se quede en un lugar seguro.
Those 4 days I want my truck to be in a safe place.
Ok, yo dejé mi camión un día parqueado en la calle Graham por 3 días.
One day or one instance I left my truck on Grand Avenue for 3 days.
Y un domingo en la tarde
And a Sunday afternoon,
me hablaron que la grúa estaba levantando mi camión para llevárselo.
they called me letting me know that the tow truck was taking my truck away.
So ese mes que trabajé, una tercera parte lo tuve que pagar para sacar mi camión y mi traila.
So that month that I was gone and that I worked, I used a third of that income to take out my truck and my trailer.
Y sin ningún lugar donde parquearme.
And without a place to park it once I took it out.
Igual que ustedes, yo también tengo familia, esposa, hijos.
Just like you guys, I have a family, a wife, kids.
Que dependen de mí, de lo que yo haga, para ellos poder sobrevivir también. Pago taxes, tengo mi casa, pago luz, agua, igual que todos ustedes.
They depend for my income for me to support them. I have a house, a mortgage, I pay all my bills.
Sí, y todo aquí en la ciudad. Tengo más de 30 años yo aquí en la ciudad. Yo fui a la middle school, yo fui a la high school, fui a San Jacinto College.
I've been here for more than 30 years. I went to middle school, high school, college here in San Jacinto.
Y lo único que quiero yo es un lugar donde pueda venir a descansar y no preocuparme porque mi camión se quedó en la calle y se lo van a volver a llevar.
And all I'm asking is for a place to come and rest and not worry that I'm parking on the street and that somebody's going to take something or they're going to take my truck.
Porque yo no voy a cambiar de profesión.
Because I'm not going to change my profession.
Eso es lo que yo escogí, eso es lo que a mí me gusta.
That's what I chose, that's what I like.
Y es mi vida.
And that's my life.
Muchas gracias.
Speaker, please.
The following speaker is Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Trucking parking. Es un problema en San Jacinto, es un problema en California y es un problema en todos los Estados Unidos.
Trucking parking is a problem in San Jacinto, in California, and all states.
Ahora entiendo por qué.
Now I understand why.
Porque el plan de desarrollo urbanístico
Because the development plan,
no es una solución para los troqueros.
it's not a solution for truckers.
La estadística dice que por cada lugar para estacionar un camión, hay 15 camiones esperando por ese lugar en todos los Estados Unidos.
The statistics say that for every one truck that has a parking space, 15 don't in all of the United States.
Necesitamos una solución local. Hay instituciones locales y federales que están tratando de ayudar a este problema.
We need a local solution. There are local and federal associations that are trying to deal with this problem.
Una de ellas es
One of them
es una legislación que entró en la Cámara de Representantes
it's a legislature that came into the legislative house
que se llama Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act.
called the Truck Safety Improvement Act.
Fue firmada en el 2021.
It was signed in 2021.
Pero desafortunadamente los bills no solucionan los problemas.
But unfortunately, the bills that pass don't solve the problems.
Lo que solucionan los problemas son las acciones.
What solves the problems is the actions that are taken.
Y es por eso que nosotros estamos acá. Cuando nos dicen, van a buscar un estacionamiento en Fontana,
Which is why we're here, because when they tell us that they're going to find a parking space in Fontana,
la gente de Fontana, la ciudad de Fontana,
the city of Fontana
también están tratando de solucionar los problemas para sus residentes.
are also trying to resolve the problems for their residents.
Y en todos los Estados Unidos ahora mismo,
And in all of the United States right now,
seguramente hay 100 o 200 ciudades
I'm sure there are 100 or 200 cities
tratando de solucionar este problema.
that are also trying to solve this problem.
No puedo ir a Fontana
I can't go to Fontana.
a que ellos me solucionen un problema cuando yo soy residente de San Jacinto.
I can't go to Fontana for them to resolve a problem when I'm a resident from San Jacinto.
Por eso estoy aquí
That's why I'm here.
con la esperanza de que ustedes puedan entender que este problema es un problema a nivel nacional.
With the hope that you guys understand that this problem is a national problem.
Y que ustedes pueden brindarnos esa ayuda en este momento y no tendré que ir a Sacramento a buscar una solución allá.
And that you guys can help us find a solution and that I don't have to go to Sacramento and find a solution over there.
Gracias.
Okay, we got more speakers. Can you call the next?
The following speaker is Jesus Asensio.
Vamos, Jesús, vamos.
Hola, buenas noches.
Hi, good evening.
Ok, yo soy el dueño de la propiedad donde están todos mis compañeros, los troqueros.
I'm the owner of where everybody here, all my colleagues and my friends park.
Y espero que les den una buena solución a todos, porque yo también soy troquero, yo salgo también, sé cómo corre la vida el troquero.
And I hope that you guys help us find a solution because I'm also a truck driver, so I know the life of a truck driver and I know how difficult it can be.
Bueno, es todo, esperemos una buena respuesta de ustedes, que los acompañen y los apoyen en todo, y gracias.
Thank you. I hope we can find a good solution for everybody and that we can have your support. That's it.
The following speaker is Bruce Corman.
Bruce? Bruce is here? Bruce Corbin.
You had to go to work.
He left.
You had to go to work, you had to load.
Okay, let's call the
The
next
following
speaker.
person is Max Berry.
Come on, Max. Let's go, Max. Go, Max.
Oh.
Thank you, council, for hearing us out and being here tonight this late. Yeah, a lot of truck drivers, they have to go home and rest and get their rest, so I think a lot of them have to leave tonight because they drive an 80,000-pound vehicle and they got to sleep. I know you guys work a lot too, but you got to understand we're driving a bomb and they got to get rest. So thank you for the guys that stayed late. And anyway, a little about me. I just moved here from from Fontana, and I love this town. We have a lot of business here. We do a lot of business with Nutrient Ag off of Grand, the dairies with all molasses, the farms, AG sod, a lot of community. We do a lot here. We've been doing it for about 30 years, and I thought this was a bitchin' town to move to. And but as soon as I got here, I got 5 acres. I didn't see any problem why I couldn't park about 3 trucks on it. All my drivers that work for me live in the area. Instead of them driving an hour to Fontana, I thought this was better, greener pastures for my employees. So I'm here. I was hoping there's some way us truckers could coexist with San Jacinto. Like I said, I'm on 5 acres. I don't see why I can park a couple trucks there. We're just, I can see why there's thousands of regulations just against us. just against us, but you could have the solar company come up here and go, hey, I've got green stuff and gotta make your life, and you guys are all ears. And you know, who's gonna bring those solar panels into your town? A truck. You know, so I just want to bring that up, you know, and you know, why can't we get a forbearance? We're not hurting anybody, you know. Yeah, you know, and so as soon as I moved here, I got, you know, code enforcement, bam, right on my, you know, doorstep. Hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm like, geez, man. So, you know, I just, you know, I don't want to park my trucks on the street. If you look around, man, there's just crawling through the night, you know, ready to steal your diesel fuel, steal the parts off your truck so they could sell it to, you know, go get drugs or whatever they do, you know. And it just, you know, I would like your council and mayor, if you guys could, you know, get a minor use permit or something for us small little family trucking companies to make a living here in San Jacinto.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate it.
The following speaker is Morgan.
Thank you, council, for your time, and you guys are all, I've done business with you. Nice to see you again. I am a commercial property owner in San Jacinto, and you guys are problem solvers and think out of the box. I'm sure you're working on something right now for these guys. I have to admire these guys for staying up late and fighting for what they think's right, and the hard-working truck. I own commercial trucks, and my property made it through the planning department of the city of San Jacinto, and it was challenging. It's sad to see that the mom and pop property owners and citizens of the city of San Jacinto that own commercial property have now been so regulated by the state, federal, county, and now we're even down to the city level, that there's no way a private property owner of commercial property could even begin to start this process and finish it. I made it, and I think I'm a trailblazer, but I might be the last guy that made it. Let's try to find a solution for these truck guys. I know you guys, hearts in this valley. I've dealt with you on many occasions, all of you. I know your heart's in this. These guys' heart's in it. It's gotta work somehow. Thank you for your time.
The following speaker is Daryl.
He left already.
Okay.
The
go
last
ahead.
speaker is Mike.
Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike.
Council, thank you for hearing us out. I am a lifetime Hemet resident. My grandfather farmed here in the 50s and 40s, and I've watched the trucks move all through our town all the time. I'm a commercial property owner. I'm a contractor. I've built multiple projects in San Jacinto. I've always had a good reputation with working with San Jacinto, and San Jacinto was known for a city that you could work with, and they would really help you. In the last 5 or 6 years, I've missed multiple projects due to the climate of how the city planning department wants to treat the citizens that are here. And as I came to just watch this meeting tonight to see what was actually going on. I've heard rumors of the trucking it problems and stuff. But I think what's happening is that the bureaucracy that your hands are tied to, some of it, not all of it, but some of it, creates when the guy walks in the door, it's instantly, hey, we want $8,500 to maybe look at your project. Yes. And not even understand when you talk, you know, CEQA and WQMPs, these guys don't understand what that is. They're working. We're all working people. Yes. And so when you go to that and you're coming, the citizens are starting to feel like it's you guys, and I don't necessarily mean council, but I mean the city as an entity is against the people. You know, we look at those same things as a lot of these guys addressed. You know, it's like, hey, these guys' trucks are getting robbed. Are we doing anything with that? Doesn't seem to, but
We have a homeless problem that we can't seem to fix, but we need to fix these things. You know, instead of writing tickets, find a solution. Give those guys a moratorium. These code enforcement people know these trucks. These are guys they know. If there's not a place to put them and a place to get it regulated, then maybe we need to open the city yard. We could park some trucks in there. That's right off of Grand Street. Those are some of the think out of the box solutions to solve our issues. And I appreciate, again, this is, you know, I can see that, you know, emotions have ran high tonight for everybody, but I think the passion is one thing we all have in common, is we love this place. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna ask one more time, when I know we all got emotional, but
Your public speakers. That's it.
that was it. I brought this to council. It was for them to hear, address me in different occasions, and I don't promise nothing. I just promise to bring it to the council. I am not the only one that can make the decision. As you can see, you said it, and I want to congratulate Morgan for the process that you went through here, and there was a lot of areas you have to wiggle, and same thing with Caesar and Jesus, that things are not going to be easy because we are also regulated. Okay. I know you guys are really hard working people, but let's not disrespect one of my colleagues. Please have respect for them. As you mentioned many times, you guys are worker, but I wake up at 3:30 every morning to go to work. We don't have any response to you at this moment. I for others that we need to talk, and I'm going to ask legal if it's appropriate and try them, issue them a ticket, or just until they work or they provide us with an application, either zone changing or minor use permit or variance, all development standards. Yeah, I'm going to let you guys speak. So, what are our? Thank you. What are our options? Legal.
Yeah, Mayor. Were you going to go into closed session and talk about it? Be something with Rob, the city manager, myself, or whoever, of just trying to brainstorm ideas outside the box and work. It's probably not a closed session item at this point, unless there's some sort of specific item that.
Thank you. And what I mean saying closed session is because I don't know what the process is. That's why I'm asking legal. So what will be the recommendation or our next step will be? I don't know if it's sent to council a moratorium to kind of give them a break until they present either change a zoning, change of zoning, or in for what I understand is he owns a commercial property based on what he said in public comments, that he got hit with all these regulations and $2 million or more. I just want to be fair with them, but they're also got to understand that we all have been regulated, just like Mike said and Morgan said. We we have our hands tied, but we're trying. Well, I'm trying, and I'm sure that my colleagues also are with me and with you.
Mr. Mayor, if it's acceptable to you and the council, I think that if we put another item on in 2 weeks, we could probably have a pretty good recommendation. I talked to Caesar outside in the hallway. I think we have a couple of really good ideas.
Great.
We can try to agree with, but it gives us a couple weeks to work together. And you know, a laundry list of ideas that we can roll through. Hopefully one of them pays off. But I think there's multiple opportunities for us to, I think there's a variety of ways we can help.
So
there's
in
not
the
one
process-
solution doesn't fit all on this, I believe.
I'm sorry, I'll let you speak. I'm sorry for interrupting. I was gonna ask, actually to you, and I want you, as I don't promise anything, but I told you that I'm gonna bring it to council for them to hear your necessities. And now we're asking to bring it back again, but the council has to. That I would like to hear back in a couple of weeks. And I wanna kinda abandon this mic now, and I'm gonna ask, okay, I'm gonna ask, I'm sorry, my colleagues, if they want to say something, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to say something in regards to what you were saying. So if the solution right now is to come back in 2 weeks with a solution, then is it possible in that process to suspend code enforcement? We're working on getting to a solution and coming back with some of the options. That way they don't incur any extra fines over the next 2 weeks. So at least that way we're working on something.
Thank
you. Yes, that's what we need. Hold on, please, don't interrupt. So, at the beginning, I asked also for a moratorium, and that's what I meant, okay? So, it looks like the council is moving to my recommendation, which they haven't spoke. Looks like I own this microphone, but we're all elected officials, so I'm gonna let them speak one by one and see what will be the outcome.
I do want to say I appreciate everybody for coming and staying. I know this is a sensitive subject, and I know that when Travis was giving the information, I think it was important, even though you may feel that we are supposed to know these things, but a lot of times the process, some people don't know it, and misinformation is one of the biggest problems in our country today, because before we can even get to a solution, people have already made an opinion. So one, like people were saying that we didn't want truckers in the city, and that was the furthest thing from the truth. And that's unfortunate because automatically people formulate an opinion and became an emotionally, distracted by all of everything that's on the internet. And once it goes on there, it becomes a whirlwind. I actually had the chance of visiting neighboring cities. I went to go pick up the city ordinance from Beaumont and Banning just to look and see what would be their process, the same way, how they would handle the same situation, sitting down with their planning team and going over the process. And as the gentleman said earlier, one of the interviewers said earlier, this isn't just a problem, this is an everywhere problem. And then I was looking at it from a lot of different perspectives. The one that we get our water from the ground. So a lot of stuff that gets, pushed in. So when you're talking about just parking on soil, and I know some of you guys say your trucks is regulated, but then there's a concern when you say your diesel is stolen, because that can go into the ground, and then remember, we get water from the ground. But at the end of the day, that CEQA and understanding the environmental impact, it's important to get all of this information out there so we're not causing further damage by making a rational decision off of the emotions of the internet. And, like I said, I don't want to go into the application, we only have 26 square miles to work with in the city of San Jacinto. That's all we have as our city. And it's not like individuals don't want to work with, but number one, and this is one of the most crucial statements that I heard or questions was asked was, is there a permit that was pulled or application that was filed? Because in order for us to work with anybody, I mean, right now we're getting a lot of individuals angry, and you know, I love what the gentleman said here. Most people don't know about CEQA and a lot of the different process, but we have to get that application on file to start with.
I got it on file.
Okay.
Hold on, please don't.
I'm talking about like right now. I'm talking about the application right now, and I understand what you're saying. But at the end of the day, right, if we're going to have a long-term solution, right, because if we put a Band-Aid on it, it can become worse later. I'm dealing with that right now in my own home, right? Like I had a leak in the roof in the bathroom and it caved in and forgot to fix the roof. And guess what? It rained last night and this morning, and that same drywall sheet that they just fixed temporarily, we're gonna have to replace it.
We'll fix it to you for free.
You got it? I can't do that. But at the end of the day, that's what happens when you just think about a temporary solution, you know? 5 years from now, or another council in 2 years. You know, we gotta get something that's gonna work. Time too, I mean, even the solution if someone said parking inside of the city, well, that becomes a liability for the city. Because the moment somebody steals your diesel parked inside of the city gates, who are you going to be asking for that refund from? The city, because we'll be liable for it. And so these things we have to think all the way through. I like the fact that, you know, Rob, and we also got to understand information at one time, but I do know that staff has been working with individuals, and we got to make sure that we're not passing along bad information as though we're not trying to do our best. Because this is exactly why we're here. I'm all for, and I don't know, you know, legal parts about it, but I'm all for coming back in 2 weeks. So I'm just gonna put it out there. I would love to make sure that you guys don't incur any fines or anything like that in the process to work with you. But we have to have a mutual respect towards a solution and not just pushing this further and further off. There has to be interested to see that, but at the end of the day, I don't want to take this any longer. But every person that spoke, and even the ones that left, I do hear you. I do hear you. Somebody made a comment about me being on my phone. I was on my phone because I'm watching live as they're streaming, and I'm texting and I'm responding back to some of the comments that people are asking on the live too. So it's not like I'm being rude or anything, but there are people who are watching live that are asking questions that want to know answers as well because they couldn't be here, and I still wanted to give them an opportunity to have their voices and their questions heard.
Thank you, Councilman Atkinson. Before I move to the next point, I just want to say for the records that there was a talking about roof and sister offered to repair for free, and that was just a joke, just for the records. Okay. Yes, because when it comes to the law, there is a lot of things that we have to be careful. We can't take anything for free. All right, Councilman Ayala.
I appreciate that, Mayor. Being here almost at 10 o'clock at night, that says a lot about our city. And Councilmember Hawkins kind of said it all. That there's a passion here that you all demonstrate, and you all are here for a reason. We're all residents of the same city. We live here as well. I know there was another rumor going around that the city council members don't even live in the definitely not true. You know, you're here, this is an opportunity, but this was an opportunity where you were coming from, and the pain, the frustration, the issues that you have been going through, and please understand that this is something that I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I've really been kind of monitoring for the past couple of weeks, and I've seen the comments, and I've seen the discussion. It's unfortunate, and one of the things that I came on board to the council for just about 2.5 years ago was learning how government works. And while we might not necessarily appreciate the slow process that it takes to get to a solution, that's the steps that we all have to do. A food truck business, and we've all heard his issues that he has that we dealt with just a few months ago. The homelessness issue, we're trying to tackle that. The drug use issue, we're trying to tackle that. We have tons of issues in this city, and that's nationwide, that's citywide, that's countrywide, that's everywhere. And this one issue, while it is extremely important, it is something that we all have to come up with a decision, actually a solution and a compromise. I wanted to talk about one of the posters that I saw back there. That kind of really kind of stuck to me, where I'm not sure, I don't remember drug use and saying that's okay, but truckers are not. Please understand that that is not the intention of the city. That's not the intention of our law enforcement officers that are here that have to deal with that every day. And I've been on the streets with them, and I've actually 100% all the time. And it's not a pleasant experience, but things that I've always emphasized, thank you. One of the things that I've always emphasized together and try to come up with solutions, and when we talk about these solutions, we can actually resolve the issue. Now, one of the things that Travis brought up when he first came up a little while ago was that process. So that's one of the processes that we have to go to actually start to get in that correct direction.
But that's where they need help to understand that.
There needs to be that's that learning curve, and that's definitely the learning curve.
That's the hardest part of the learning curve.
Yes, and it's been like that since day one. Yes. And being an educator, as myself, I feel responsible to try to share that information and share that. As a teacher, that's what I do, 40, 60, 70 hours a week. But again, trying to come up with those solutions. Thomas, I like your main point. You're coming up here asking for help. I don't know where Thomas is at right now. Thank you. You were talking about coming up for help. That's the approach that we need to come to. Miguel, sorry about the thefts with, and I apologize. Freddie, I bless you for driving across the country, spending a whole month away from home. I'm in the military, so I know how that is. So I understand the sacrifices you have to go through, and it's unfortunate that you have to come back when you come home. Hopefully, as a council, we'll come up with a decision to solve that problem. The property owners, Jesus and Max, and also is that Morgan, commercial property owners. You guys have been here for a long time, so you've seen the city change. I've been here for 20 years, going on 21 years. So I've seen the city change from what it was 2 decades ago to what it is now, and we're growing. Our city plan is going to double our population in the next 10 to 20 years, I believe. We're looking at 100,000 people in probably the next 20 years. So this city is not going to be a little small city anymore. So things are changing, and that's one of the things that we have to kind of think about at the same time as we're growing. How do we incorporate all of these the way it used to be? Is its small town feel. Well, we want to keep and hold on to that. Some of it's going to eventually have to be let go, because it's not going to be a small town. But at the same time, it's progress. So I'm hoping that we can come up with a solution. One thing about the terrorist acts, the terrorist claims in the back, we're not calling anyone terrorist. Please don't think that's the case. No one in here is a terrorist. We're all Americans. We all love this country. We all love our city, and we'll defend it to the end if we have to. Trust me about that. Okay? on the flip side of that, and I've sworn, not only sworn to defend the Constitution of the United States of America, sitting on all enemies, foreign and domestic, to defend my country. We have to follow the rules and we have to follow the laws. Threatening to shut down our streets doesn't move us in the progress and the forward-moving thinking that we need to be at. So while this process might take some time, and I'm going to ask one last question to our council because I don't think it was really kind of clear. Besides postponing this for 2 weeks, is there any particular action as a council can we take tonight to solidify or move to help our drivers tonight?
Thank you.
I'm asking the attorney.
I did propose a moratorium for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, so right now this was agendized, really, it's just a discussion item. So we really can't take action on something that wasn't on the agenda. Obviously, we could talk with Rob and get a sense of where you guys are at. If we have a sense that you want to put a sort of moratorium on that till we come back in a couple weeks, I think we could do something like that. But, you know, as I said, it's more of it's not agendized that way, so it'd be difficult to take any formal action. But I think, like I say, get a sense of where you guys are at. I think Rob gets that sense, we can kind of move from there. And then 2 weeks from now, we can have a better discussion and put stuff out there that's a little bit more concrete.
So the city attorney is gonna protect you. I think what I hear is a consensus, so we'll go with that.
All right,
A
got it.
consensus, I've got 3 council members who have a particular opinion about something. So that's what I'll follow.
So everybody kind of understands where we're going at this point, correct? Yes. I see some nods. Yes. Having restrictions, we can't. So I just wanted to say that part and let you know that we are still moving forward, hopefully for a good solution. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Ayala. And before I pass it on to our next council member, I did hear about blocking the sea, and he has mentioned, let's be friends. Okay, don't get this council upset, because then it's going to be a constant fight. Let's all work together. Let's wait for the next 2 weeks and see what we come out with. Hopefully we can work together, but please, we don't like threats. Okay, because there is a lot of officers out there, unfortunately. So let's be peaceable. I ask you to please be peaceable from the very beginning. I got constant different threats. Please do not do that with my colleagues. Please. Thank you. I'm going to move on to Councilwoman Valverde.
That's right, by December you'll have it down. Again, thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming out. Like we said, we've all said we've heard you. Business and your land, and you don't want all these other back issues. So we're not attacking you personally. It's just there are rules and regulations that are already in play, like they explained, and we're just trying to follow up just so that, like you said, we preserve our environment, we preserve the land, and we just go by the rules. And hopefully, like you said, in 2 weeks we have some resolution on this. But again, thank you for coming. We appreciate your time and your comments.
Thank you. We'll move on to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. First of all, I want you to know that I support the truckers. I've supported them over the years. I've driven with some of you across the United States when you were begging to be open, and God bless you for that. I was really proud to be with you, and I'm just proud to be here tonight.
Thank you, Chris Arias. Thank you very much.
I know this is difficult. It's difficult for us to sit here and listen to the problems that should never be. Some of the issues, you know, we sit here and we can't let you know really what we're thinking, because we're not supposed to. That's the rules that we have to go by, and that's not our rules, but That's
Whose
the
rule
rules
is
of-
that?
It's the rules of conducting a meeting, and we have to live by those rules. So we have certain rules we have to live by, unfortunately. But you all should be pretty proud of yourselves for coming here and speaking up. I wanna also, thank the staff for putting together the presentation. Travis, I know that you had a lot more information there. I really appreciate all the hard work. It does matter. You know, our hands are tied enough, and frankly, I would love to break the bond. Things we're gonna be able to do and certain things we aren't gonna be able to do. And even though you didn't finish the presentation, we kinda got the hint real quick by some of those slides coming down from the state and the federal government, CEQA. When they first wrote it, Ronald Reagan signed a document this thick. It's now this thick, from the table up, maybe taller. And we're constantly getting updates, and we're constantly getting our hands tied. This is one of those situations where we have to follow the law, as we've heard over the course of the council members speaking, and we will have to work within those constraints. But I'm glad to see people here. I would like to see some people come in to put in an application or you know, talk to you about, you know, possibly doing what the gentleman here did illegally. You know, it is a long process, and now a little bit longer. And we can help where we can, but you do have to go through the process. There are certain things that we have to do in order to comply with the state and federal. We really can't afford to. We're a small community. It's not like we're LA. We don't have that kind of money coming in. But I want to thank you for spending the conclusion that you want tonight. But maybe in 2 weeks we'll have some ideas, and we'll have some presentations, and we'll have. And so I thank you for voicing your, you know, sharing your voice. It's really important that we hear it, that we understand what you're saying. Those of you, you know, who are here that were up here at the podium, and you were so articulate. It didn't matter what language you were speaking. We understood you, we heard you, and that's really, really important for us to do, is to understand where you're coming from and your side of it. So we appreciate that, and God bless you.
Thank you. We complete item 4.3. The rest of want you to stay. Otherwise, you can go back and get some more rest. And look forward to see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Después de 4 horas. Que le vaya bien. 2 semanas.
Good job. Thank you, thank you. So how do you feel, how you like the outcome?
No, it's very good. Amen, thank you.
Yes, sir. So what do you think of the outcome?
Okay, good.
Let's go outside.
Outside? Okay.
Yeah.
It's drizzling a little bit, doesn't matter?
Let's do it right here.
Okay, right here?
Outside?
Let's do it right here.
Out here?
Yeah.
Que acá adentro.
Aquí adentro. Right here.
We give him a
Okay.
Okay, guys. So I guess you'll be the spokesperson of the group. Can you tell me what you guys feel, how the outcome was tonight, how you guys were treated, and what do you think?
We're actually happy, Eddie.
Let's go outside.
Been up for a while, all night, huh?
We're at Eddie.
This is fine right here. So we got good lighting.
Mira, vamos a sacar, vengan a sacar todos para que se miren. Y Jesús, échame al otro si quieres. Jesús. Sí, sí, para que se haga más gente. Eric. Jesús. Eric, véngase para salir todo, para que se mire que sí vinimos.
He's asking us, how do we feel now that our voices are heard? Véngase. Ustedes son la bonita de
Venga, que vienen las troqueras también. Venga.
The city council actually heard our voices. They're gonna work on it. They're not promising anything, but they said we're gonna work on it. We're gonna come up with a solution, so that we don't have to do. We're tired. We just want secure and safe parking for everyone. Everyone.
Yeah.
If you see.
Yeah.
So it was a good outcome. So. Thank
So you
you.
guys
And we
are
wanna
all
thank you.
pleased with how it went tonight with our city council?
Very happy with the city council, city manager as well, Rob. We want to thank you for helping us and supporting us. So.
Listening to
And
our
listening.
voices, yeah.
Exactly, Eric.
Yeah.
Want to say something, Eric?
Hey, we're all truck drivers. We all live in San Jacinto. We're all human. We just want to do the right thing. Leave us alone. That's it.
Support your drivers, folks.
Support driver.
Que la ciudad cuide de nosotros y nosotros cuidaremos la ciudad.
Exacto.
What did he say?
The city take care of us.
We'll
We're
take
gonna
care of
take
the
care of
city.
the city.
There you go.
Exactly.
Without
Thank
the
you, Eddie.
truckers, what are we gonna do?
Start to death.
Thank you very much for being here, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.
guys.
Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
Antes de que nos vayamos, si traen algo para darle a Eric.